Well. Good morning, everybody. Let's get our heads right on a Thursday, I do believe. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Great to be with you this morning, live from Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria, Arizona. We've got.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
we 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 have got some stories for you guys, my friends. Man, it's good to be here with you this morning. Rafa just said in the chat that Ben looks very relaxed. He is very relaxed. That's what happens to a man in love, and we will get to all of that very shortly. Oh man, I'm Woodsy, by the way. Going around is Paul Reindl. He is our executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Oh, great morning.
Great morning for Paulie Reindl. And to my left, my dear friend,
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Benjamin R. Higgins, man about town. Many say the James Bond of the Ben and Woods program.
I mean, obviously, I'm in an extremely good mood this morning.
Yeah.
Because the Aztecs won.
The Aztecs won and took care of business, certainly. And Ben will get to that sometime, I think, in the 9 o'clock hour. It is great to be here with you guys this morning. And again, I need to remind myself, this is not a job where you can burn the candle at both ends. It's just not cut out for that. And I need to remember the next time we decide to go out on a show outing, 2, not 3, 2 drinks is all I can have. 2, and I'm done, and you cut me off, and you don't get me another one because 3 is just one too many.
To be fair, you didn't order the third one.
I did not order the third.
Table.
Ben, I drank the S out of it,
I would say Paul and our friend
Steve
Richo from Australia, who was on the show earlier this week, they made the executive decision to get you one more.
That's
while
exactly
we were at the
right.
table.
Sorry about that.
That's exactly right, man. But yeah, I don't feel great. I do not feel great. I'm extremely sore as well. I'm extremely dry and devoid of any sort of hydration at all. I've been pounding water. I pounded a Pedialyte this morning. You come out to Arizona, you cross the state line, and all the moisture from your body just goes, and it's like the minute you cross into Yuma, you're like, where's my chapstick? And you're just
turn into beef jerky.
Yeah, you turn into beef jerky the second you cross it. And I've been out here 24 times, and it's every time I'm like, all right, really hydrate before you go. Hydrate before you go out last night and suck down Maker's Mark. So I'm trying to think where to start. Let's start with our day yesterday. It was a very eventful day on the program. As you know, I got traded to another team in the middle of fantasy camp, which was a trip. It's never happened. Went to the new team. We won our game.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your new managers, Tim Flannery and Archie Sinfracco.
Yep, and really, really good dudes. And let's just say they must have traded for me for my intangibles. I did, and I helped the team because I ended up catching 5 innings, and this was not the machine. This is an actual pitchers going through. So I had to catch 5 innings.
And if you weren't there, the ball just would have gone to the backstop every time. So
they
need a catcher.
They needed some catching help. And so I filled that role admirably.
And as we know, they don't rely on the catching position in Major League Baseball for a ton of offense.
Yes, yeah, that's fair. And
This is fantasy camp. We really get the pro experience out here.
Yeah, you really get the pro experience. So I did not have a great day at the dish. I expect to today, And then so after the day was over, we won. Now I was traded from Terry Kennedy's team, which is Paulie's team. Paulie, how did you guys do?
We lost.
You lost. Okay, those are really the only stats I care about is the W or an L, and we got.
That's
the
not
W.
true at all. You
It's
came in. I have never seen you as upset
dejected.
as you were yesterday.
There was almost a bat snap yesterday.
There's definitely there's a part of us as fans who will say, "Hey, team results, all that matters. All you should be caring about in there is the team." But it's very human nature.
No, I think it's BS.
That your emotions are probably more affected by how you do individually.
I talked to Archie and I talked to Mark Loretta, and we were talking to them about slumps because I think you could say I'm in a slump. I've always hit well out here. It's not super challenging to hit out at fantasy camp. And I don't know if I'm not seeing it. I don't know if I'm trying to do too much, but I'm not hitting the ball. I'm not even putting the bat on it, man. I'm swinging at pitches out of the zone. It's just not who I am out here. I'm a good hitter out here. And I don't know what's happened. So
5 years, you've never had a day like yesterday.
No. Not even close.
Silver sombrero. Just to be clear for everybody.
Thank you for letting everybody know that.
Well, they're wondering out there.
Yeah, silver sombrero. But I was asking them, and Loretta goes, "Oh, dude," he goes, "there were times in the big leagues where I thought I would never, ever get a hit again." And he goes, and it sounds stupid because I know I'm a good hitter. I'm a big league hitter. But he goes, I would drive home and think, I'm never getting another hit. And Archie said, "Oh, yeah, it happened all the time. I thought I'm never going to get another knock." And I said, "What did you guys do?" Archie goes, "I would change my route to the ballpark. Socks were always the first thing I did. I go, Archie, I changed my socks yesterday. I've done everything in my power to switch this voodoo."
Well, not everything. Now you've done everything.
Maybe now the slump has been busted. So we had the games, and then we hung out for a while, and then we did something that I thought was absolutely incredible and fun. And look, I know as Padres fans, you grasp onto anything you got. And so it's been the 98 team and the 84 team. I didn't know a lot about the 84 team, and I learned so much yesterday because we had perhaps the greatest moderator in the history of moderators moderating this panel last night, and it's the man sitting to my left. You're good on the radio. You're a phenomenal moderator. You're maybe the best moderator I've ever seen in my life.
I should apply for a Meet the Press or something and have my own panel show.
It was incredible. So, Benny, you're there, and give the list of the guys and tell just everybody kind of how it went down.
We had Goose Gossage, we had Terry Kennedy, Gary Templeton, Dave Dravecki, Tim Flannery, and Tim Lawler.
Yep.
Sitting in the Padres clubhouse here in Peoria. And I kind of took them kind of chronologically through the season.
It was
amazing.
Talked
about playing for Dick Williams. We got in. We had video of the August brawl in Atlanta against the Braves. And
I got a shot of all 5 or 6 of them staring up at the TVs, laughing and smiling and watching that epic, one of the greatest brawls in MLB history.
And every camper, when one of the guys would pop up on the screen, like Flannery was and everyone's yeah, Flan, and then like TK Tempe. It was
so cool. Tempe talked about Alan Wiggins, which I found fascinating. Some stuff I had never known before. We went through the playoffs, the NLCS against the Cubs, Garv's home run, where they were all kind of sitting, what their reaction was when he went deep. And I found out a little bit more about the fact that was Garv's first opposite field home run of the entire season.
All year.
And great insight, again, from Tempe about Lee Smith, how he threw really hard. I mean, one of the best closers of the era, but always threw outside. And Garv decided,
would not bust you in.
I'm going to just take it that way and see what happens. And it worked out. And then World Series. And then we got into some more personal stuff. And we were talking with Dave Dravecki, and he was telling us the story of his cancer, his surgery, and his comeback in 1989 with the San Francisco Giants to the mound.
I had tears in my eyes when he said, "Why did my arm have to snap in the big leagues? Why didn't my arm snap in my 3 minor league starts where I threw 76 pitches, 93 pitches, and 91 pitches, and I had 2 complete games? Why didn't my arm snap then? Why did it snap in the bottom of the 8th when I'm throwing a 1-hit shutout with 10% of a delt muscle left?" I had tears in my eyes. And then, in the weirdest twist of fate that maybe I've ever seen, Dave is in the middle of his story, and it's like it's going up a mountain. It's about to hit the top. And then one of our campers went down in here and collapsed. Dehydration. Long days.
I just hear help from the back of the room.
Dave was telling this story so well. And like Woodsy said, he was right at the pinnacle of the story.
The climax, if you will.
The climax. And all of a sudden, you could hear a pin drop in the clubhouse. Everybody was just like fixed in on this story. Yeah. And all of a sudden we hear, "We need a trainer. We need a trainer. He's down. He's out."
It was nuts. His face went white. And so they took a while to tend to him, and then they got him out and took care of him. He's okay. He walked out under his own power, but it was scary. It was a really scary moment.
And he's okay.
He's okay. Yeah, he's fine. He's a good kid too, and he's fine. But you knocked that thing out of the park. And what I realized too is I could listen to old baseball players talk about baseball 17 straight hours a day. Take a break to go to the bathroom, eat a sandwich, come back and listen to more old stories. They've got, and we'll get into the weeds on some of it later in the show, because I think what everyone wants to know is how the rest of the night turned out. And after that, we ran home, we showered quickly, we picked up our buddy, and we went down to Exhibit. Exhilarator.
No, not quite.
Excalibur.
No, we did not pull the sword out of the stone. Nope, it was not Excite either. I'm wearing the hat right now. You got the X.
Turn around.
You get the X part
right.
right. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Explicit. It's explicit. Explicit. We took Ben to his very first gentleman's club ever.
Let's hold it there.
Let's hold it there.
Let's tease. And
I love you.
We'll come
look
back.
At you radio god, moderator and radio tease master Ben Higgins.
We'll come back. We should be having some of the campers coming by starting hopefully around 6:30 this morning. So you're not going to want to miss it. I got to get Flan on. Maybe Dave will finish his story for us. Dave Dravecki.
Coffee.
I saw Trevor here. I didn't actually get to talk to Trevor yesterday, but he is definitely here and in the building as well. So we've kind of got all of them in our sights for the show today. We'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with the Padres. Got some topics. We'll get into all of it, but let's come back and we'll finish the story of our day and where it ended last night. Well, it ended with me watching the Aztecs game as always, but
yeah, it's
where the story ended for these two last night. Coming up next, we got Frank Marchese back in the studio. Good morning, Frank. Good to have you with us all week long. It's Ben and Woods. We'll check traffic. Be right back here with more from Padres Fantasy Camp 2024 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We're live from Fantasy Camp, Peoria, Arizona. Coming off one of my favorite nights that we've had together as a show, and we've had many. We have had many fun times. We have had many fun days, and I still have like a trough of stories to tell from yesterday. One of the absolute most bat-ass stories you will ever hear about a fantasy camper.
Maybe that's a don't do this for today. Let's put that in don't do
this. It's going to take the entire don't do this.
It could be the whole one. But for a do this, last night we decided to take Ben. He'd never been to a gentleman's establishment. So let's get into that quickly. You didn't really run with a pack of guys that were gentleman's club type guys.
No.
So that's number one. Number two, well, you tell me why no curiosity ever, just to see, like, you're not a super curious experimental person.
No, but I will say the biggest reason is that I've never turned down like the opportunity where everyone said, "Hey, we're all going. Do you want to come with us?" And I said, "No, it's not for me."
Right.
But I certainly wasn't going to just go by myself,
which is weird. There was a guy there last night. He had long red hair, and he was very creepy.
And it wasn't. It wasn't something that was like on my bucket list.
Sure.
Like I'd been clamoring to do.
Skydiving.
It just never got done. So, and I wasn't itching to, but I wasn't morally opposed to it. I wasn't taking like a stand. Like I would never do that, or that just doesn't appeal to me. So it just never happened. And you made it your mission. You wanted to make sure that it did happen before I turned 50, at least.
100%. And it's been like at least a 2-year mission, I would say. And so we decided to make that a reality. Paulie did some extensive research. We ran it by some people, some locals here, some townies, and they said, no, don't go to that place. Go to this place. And Paulie said, why? And he goes, well, they have a 2-story pole. And I said, well, I'm in. I've got to see this. This is something I need to see now. Then when you go for 3 with 3K, it no longer became about Ben's fun night. It was, I need to go and I need to break out of this slump. And that is the place to do it. I want to see this 2-story pole. So we get there and we're driving. It's in Glendale. And we're just driving down this road. And all of a sudden, off to the left, a big glowing pink light, an oasis in the middle of the literal desert. And it's sitting there.
There's no neighbors.
No neighbors.
Nothing,
it's not in a strip mall.
Nothing
no
on one side, nothing on the other side.
It's just past the Rockin' Sushi that Ben pointed out.
Rock and Roll Sushi was near maybe a mile away.
A mile away.
Yeah,
but we
wouldn't want to walk there.
We were driving by him and goes, oh, Rock and Roll Sushi. And it was just a perfect
when it happens in the flesh, it's just so good.
It's so good when he does it. So the other thing was, and I commented this, we were on the highway. He didn't breathe. He was sitting still in the back seat. And there was no breathing. He was just sitting. And I go, hey, you haven't breathed yet. Are you okay? Are you nervous? Did you have a little anxiety going in? A little bit.
Yeah, a little. I was definitely nervous.
Okay, so we pull into the parking lot, and it's pretty bare. I mean, there's not a lot of cars there.
No pun intended again.
Again, no pun intended. Which, by the way, I think was perfect. If we had walked in and it had been a circus in there, it would have made me uncomfortable. I don't like huge crowds like that either.
It wasn't empty. There were definitely some other people.
The long-haired redhead guy was very creepy looking.
Sat in the back. He sat by himself.
Part of my worry was that we might be like the only table, and then I didn't want
all the attention.
All the attention. I was hoping to get a moderate amount of attention, not
I was going to make sure
intense amount of attention.
So we walk in, we pay the $10 cover charge, and we told the girl at the front desk, he said, "We got a first timer here," and she goes, "You are kidding me. How old are you?" He goes, "I'm 48.
They were all very surprised.
The bouncer who was the greatest guy. He was
cool.
Cool as could be. Jay, maybe. He's like, I'm your guy. I'm gonna take care of you. We'll get you guys this table up front. This is what I would do for your buddy. Make sure he has the greatest night of his life." We go, no problem. Go up, we sit down, and we order a round of drinks, and get some $1 bills and all that. And so Ben's leaning over to me, and I'm going, all right. So here's what you do. There's a gal on stage. Go throw a couple bucks up there, respectfully. I was under the impression from my days years ago. I'm not a strip club guy at all, really. And I said, don't throw it at him. That feels weird to me. I said, just kind of flip it up on the stage. Much to my surprise,
I was shocked that you didn't know that this was a real thing.
So, I thought rappers did it in videos, dude. I didn't know that real human beings that sell insurance and go to strip clubs on a Wednesday night literally make it rain.
This dude showed up with at least $50.
At least.
Folded up.
Yeah.
And he walked
nice
up.
and tight. And
wham! In the air.
He had like good form to make it.
Bro, it was not his first
flutter
time.
and
that was not his first
just
time.
Completely cover the stage.
It was incredible. It was like
the
snowfall.
room. Yeah.
So we're all sitting there in awe. And then a young lady walks over to the table and says, "Can I sit with you guys?" And we said, "Absolutely." So she sits down right next to our guy. And we tell her, first time.
No. She sat on the other side. I was sitting next to Ben, and I said, "Hey, Delilah, let's do me a favor. Why don't you sit next to this guy right over here?
Blonde girl, small derriere, which I know, as everybody knows, you like a small derriere. And we strike up. This is a weird conversation we have. I know my dad's listening. I know your mom's listening.
Carlos Hernandez walking by.
So we strike up a conversation, get a cocktail, drinking some cocktail. My man over here, James Bond, orders a Kettle One martini. Okay.
Did you not see that January Kettle One was the special?
I did not.
$8 Kettle One, which is my favorite vodka. I'm certainly Colonel Budget is certainly taking advantage of that special, no doubt about it.
Colonel Budget didn't buy one cocktail last night. Let's put it that way. So he's got his Kettle One, and he's drinking it, and we're trying to get the lay of the land here of what to do, and do you want to jump in here at
no,
all?
I'm just listening to your story. I'm enjoying this.
If anybody's been to a strip club, you know that the girls are working all night long.
Yeah.
And they will stop by your table and
check in on you,
see how you're doing, ask if you want to dance, if you want to hang out, if you want anything. And if you say no, they usually move on to the next table because they're trying to make some money. Our sweet, beloved Delilah did none of that.
No,
she sat with us the entire night.
Chopped it up.
I didn't know that was like possible. I didn't know anyone would sit with you and chat and talk. And you were wise. You offered to buy her a drink, and she got a martini as well. I don't know if that was strategic, like, oh, drink what he's drinking. Because she said, I don't usually drink martinis, but it looked good. So she got one. And we sat and talked for a while. I mean, we got to know her a little bit.
And by a while, I mean, like the entire time.
Hour and a half. Yeah, the whole time we were there.
And and it's like the most cliche thing. It's the first time you walk in, you fall in love with the first girl you see, and that's exactly what happened to Benny. And he looked over at me. He goes, "This is way better than I thought it was going to be." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "We're having a good time, and just some guys out howling at the moon." Well, then. I just don't know how much detail I want to go into.
Well, then it was Delilah's turn to go on stage.
Delilah went on stage, put Ben right up in the front, which was one of my favorite moments. I
sat back. I wanted to take it all in.
Yeah, I sat with him.
I mean, to put it into baseball perspective.
Yeah,
she was like a top prospect. You could tell she was not long for that level. Like she was going to be promoted to the big leagues really soon, and just that 2-story pole. She went up to the second story. She could get all the way around, spinning near the top, upside down. I mean, she had all the moves.
Yeah,
and she was incredibly athletic. It was very impressive. It was.
He did tell her at one point, "I was worried that you were going to fall, and you're very athletic. I can barely lift my leg to here. My hamstrings are very tight." That is a real. I was going to do real or fake things Ben said at the Gentlemen's Club last night, and that was a real thing that he said. We had an unbelievable time.
The man had the biggest grin on his face from the second we sat down until we got in the car 3 hours later.
It was like 2 hours. We made
2 hours.
And I don't know. I'm not naive.
Ear to ear grin. Like if you took Bo to a giant candy store for the very first time ever that he had never even knew existed.
Give him $100
and gave him all the money in the world. Yes, and just said, "Bo, have fun,
have a ball."
That's what it was like for Ben last night. He was just
taking it in,
wide open.
And I'm not naive enough to think there's any real connections made. It's part of
the
experience. But she told us her story, and she grew up in West Virginia. Just moved from Florida a couple of years ago. And has not been dancing very long.
I'm telling you guys, he talked to her the entire time.
I really think that you could be a good mentor for her in the future. I think you could help shepherd her along.
Well, I was kind of moderating the panel.
He was moderating the panel, and it was It was an elite night out with the guys, just guys being dudes, certainly. Howled at the moon a little bit. Like I said, I went one too many for me last night, but we had an unbelievable time.
When Delilah went back for her second dance of the evening that we were there, you did stay back that time.
Yes.
And it was just Ben.
Right up front.
Sitting front and center at the strip club as Archie Sinfracco walks by.
Fistful of cash.
And you, me, and our buddy that was with us were sitting there and we're watching Ben tossing dollar bills onto the stage.
With the best form.
Like he's been
there 100 times.
I go, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It was absolutely incredible. I mean, we got him a dance or two or four, and he had a really, really great time.
He was in there for a while.
How was that combo in there?
It was good. Good. It was good. It was good.
That's good.
She was very sweet.
She's very, very nice girl, and we wish the best for Delilah. And I mean,
she was so nice though. Like when other dancers were on the stage,
supportive,
and because we were kind of talking to her, and there weren't that many customers there, and they didn't have anyone like tipping them like right there. She would actually go up and like toss some.
Yeah, with our money. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, she was thoughtful that way. So
it was an unbelievable night. Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we got you a hat.
Yes. Thank you for the hat.
Explicit, and he's wearing it today.
They had a TV off to the side that was showing different promotions throughout the month or whatever. And across the screen came the two hats.
Yeah.
Said, "Get yours now."
Done.
So I walked back to, I think his name was Ty, our bouncer.
That's right.
And I said, "Hey, got to get our man one of these hats. Where do I get it?" And he goes, "Oh, I got you." Goes and gets a hat. We buy it, and they go, "Oh, so like, are you guys here for work? Or like, do you guys live around here?" I'm like, "No, we're here for work. Live in San Diego." And she goes, "Oh, nice. What do you guys do?" We're like, "Do a radio show." She goes, "Really? Well, let's get you whatever hat you want, and we got you some free admission, free cover charge for next time.
Be back out here in a month.
That's true.
We can check up on Delilah's progress,
or if you want to go tonight.
Or we have free cover, free Colonel Budget. If we go to bed, because I'm telling you, we're out of here at like 4:30 today. I'm getting into bed by 5, and I'm not leaving the bed. I'm going to eat a sandwich in bed, and I'm not leaving the bed. And he made. You never know.
I'd say
60% chance he ends up back there tonight by himself.
Yeah, between like 68 and 70%.
I'm almost hesitant to ever want to go back again, knowing I had a really good experience.
It's hard,
and
I
don't know that I'm going to have a better experience. I think that should just be like maybe the one.
Let me end it here. He was so enamored and was having so much fun. There was a basketball game on at the bar. He didn't even look. He did not look at it one
Couldn't tell you
time.
who won that one.
But you didn't even know who was playing.
No.
It was Arizona was playing.
It was Arizona USC.
The Aztecs started about midway through our evening. The Aztecs game had started. He didn't even bring up the score until we got in the car.
Until we got in the car, and it was just before the first half. And then we got back and watched the whole second half.
He did.
They won too, so it was a really good night.
It was a really
Thank you both.
night.
You made it very palatable for me.
Joe in our YouTube chat says, "Get Delilah on the show." There was a conversation amongst the three of us. Should we give her the hotline phone number and have her call in?
This guy actually decided maybe that's a line we don't cross.
I actually thought it would sound like it would be my idea, and I was like, I don't know, but
it was Ben's idea.
Hey man, she was as cool as could be. Wish her
She'd
nothing
do great
but
if she was on.
She was great.
She was a good talker.
She was, and you were a great talker. You looked like you were Ben Franco last night. He was just like an alter ego. I'll never get the image of him sitting up there and going, and just like a pro.
I did better than I thought I would.
The top prospect bit is one of my favorite things. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that.
All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back. Some of the camp counselors, the coaches are here. We will start talking a little bit more.
My manager
Padres
right there if you want to talk
fantasy
to
camp. Coming up next, it's Ben and Woods from San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Yes, Frank, you're very clever back there.
Very clever, Frankie. Holy cow, man. Holy cow. Got a text from your mom, by the way.
Oh, great. Yeah. I didn't.
She said, still my good son. Thanks for not
sullying
quite
as good as I used to be,
reputation.
I guess. But...
sweet little angel, Paulie. Guy didn't even look crossways. And I had to force him to go up and drop some dollar bills on the stage. He's a sweet.
He was our DD.
He was our DD. He was cool as a cucumber.
Megan is you can be proud of your husband back there.
Hannah, you too. You can be proud of me. I wasn't like Ben or anything, but I had some fun last night for sure.
All right, let's check traffic. We've got Arky Sanfracco here. We'll talk about Woodsy's new manager.
Yes.
That he got traded to a new team yesterday. Coming up after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by San Diego Imperial Valley high-intensity drug trafficking areas. Got a few trouble spots here. One of them is a tire reportedly bouncing around in lanes northbound 5 just past the King Freeway. Stalled pickup truck taking up the right lane to El Cajon Boulevard off-ramp, southbound 805. Also going to find in San Marcos some traffic control, possible closures centered around Woodland Parkway and East Mission Road, all due to an accident. Drugs today are different. Fentanyl is often mixed into pills disguised to look like prescription medications. It's important to listen to your kids and what they know about drugs. Talk to your kids. Don't let time run out. Start the conversation. Go to thetimeisnowsd.org. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Woods, you and Paul weren't around in the 1990s.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in the VIP room. You're right. No, we weren't around in the VIP room
when Arky was on the Padres, but Arky had one of the most devoted fan bases back at the Q. He had Arky's Army. I mean, he had like multiple fan sections.
Love that. The Hassan Kim of his generation.
And, not usually a guy who was coming off the bench, pinch hitting, wasn't necessarily an everyday starter. But Arky, it's good to see you. What was the passion back then, just Arky's Army and your fans that you had?
I think it was rooting for the underdog.
Yeah.
I think it was there. And those people loved rooting for the underdog. So it became my fan club. It was great. It was so exciting that, I came in with the Padres at a good time. They were kind of rebuilding. I was young. So I had some opportunity to kind of build some love, but it was mostly around my name, I think. But I'll take it.
And the name is, so it's Arky is short for Arcangelo.
Arcangelo.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a badass first. I'd go by Arcangelo myself. That's a really badass name. No, so how cool is that too? We sat next to each other yesterday for the round table and listening to the 84 guys talk about their run, their camaraderie. How similar was it? Because Tempe was the captain, and they were talking about that. And Tempe would sit in the back of the plane, and he would have a cognac, and he would be, you need to get it together. And you need to get it together. Your squad, tell me about the leaders on your group and how that was.
Well, our team was probably similar but different, right? We had Cammy, we had Wally, we had Hoffy, we had Ash. We had so many guys that I wouldn't say, we had Cammy just leading by, the quiet leader.
Quiet leader.
No one wanted to piss Cammy off.
No.
Right? It was just like.
Did you ever?
No, I don't think I did.
Good.
Honestly.
Yeah, stay on his good side.
I tried to stay on his good side. Yeah. I tried to hang with him, try to go to dinner with him every once in a while. And I was kind of his backup guy. So I was like, I tried to stay close to him. But we had so many guys. And I think after 96, we were so close, and then we got Brownie, which again, massive leader at the top. But I just think from that perspective, we had so many guys that knew we had something special.
Well, it's an interesting parallel, right? Because the Padres last season, they added a bunch of, now, again, superstars. I mean, these are, $25, $30 million a year guys. And I don't know that any of us could sit here with any certainty and say, oh, it's the same. They all came together. I don't know that was necessarily the case. I know it's different times. I know the game has changed. Do you feel like that was something that was potentially lacking last year?
I mean, I wasn't in the clubhouse, but I can tell you on the 98 team, we were tight. I mean, we all did stuff together all the time.
And so important,
all
right?
the time. We didn't have any cliques. We didn't have any groups. We were a team. We're still a team. I tell people all the time, I probably told you this. We have a 98
Ash showed us yesterday.
It's been going on for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. I don't know, forever. Like, and it's all the guys, and it's nonstop. It's 24 hours a day. You know, a lot of people sharing their love for each other, sharing funny stories, funny pictures, funny videos. So it just keeps going on and on and on, right? And I think it just kind of showed what kind of team we kind of had, right?
And who decided that was who decided that, not the text, but who decided that being together all the time was a good idea, or did it just kind of come natural?
I think it started actually when we all got traded over there, like Ash, Hoffy, me. We all came over together. Like there's a bunch of young guys that came over together, right? And it wasn't the best of times, right? It was 93. It was a fire sale. They were getting rid of everybody. We lived through some tough times, right? When we lost 100 games, so it wasn't pretty, but for those of us that kind of weathered the storm and got through it and got to the good times, I think. And those guys became big players, right? Not myself, but Ash and Hoffy and all these guys that became like big players. They had that experience, back then, and I think it helped them, and I think it helped them kind of mold the team. Once the team got Cammy and Finley and all those guys came from Houston, right? We knew, wow, we got some veteran players now. Like we're gonna, we can do something, right? So I think that's where it started, but it kind of grew into something special in like 98.
Talking to Arky Sinfracco here at Padres Fantasy Camp. And for a guy like yourself or Mark Sweeney, who would have to come off the bench and deliver, having Boch as your manager, a guy who also, was a backup catcher and didn't get to play every day, do you feel like he was able to really see it from every perspective, every player's perspective in the lineup on the field, even the pitchers, because he worked with them so extensively as a player as well?
Oh, I definitely think so, because I think Boch was kind of in that position too, as a player, right? I mean, he's a backup catcher, kind of played backup, and we had his coaching staff with Flannery and Picholo, so those guys have been through the same thing. So, like, to me, I thought that was one of the things that, I mean, for myself personally, extended my career another 2 or 3 years, right? Because he knew how to handle bench players. He knew when to play them. He knew how to keep them fresh. He was clearly communicated to us like, hey, you're going to be in there tomorrow. You're not going to be in there tomorrow. Here's your time. I'm going to give you a day next week to play and kind of sharpen up. So get ready, kind of thing. So to me, that was really important, right? I mean, obviously the team we had, right? It was fun just sitting there watching them play every day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We talked last night. We were watching, we watched the video of the big brawl in '84. We watched it together. Watched awesome. These guys. Wasn't that incredible? Awesome. And watching these guys, and honestly, like those things are important too. Knowing that your teammates have your back. It's something that I think I've been harping on for the last couple of years with the Padres teams that I've been watching. I see Tatis end up on his back a lot. I see Manny wearing it a lot, and then I don't see any sort of fight, fight back. And it kind of burns me. And I know you watch a lot of Padres baseball. We texted about it a few times through the years. That's something that you've noticed as well.
Yeah. And you know what?
I know it's a different game.
The game is definitely a little different now, right? I mean, these guys make a lot of money. It's social media. It's kind of hard, and it's hard to do the things we did, the things you did last night, without being all over Twitter, social media, or stuff like that, right? I mean, you can't do it, right? But that builds a team. I mean, it does. I mean, you do things. You go to the bar, you hang out, you do stupid stuff.
Well, we're closer now after last night. There's no question. There's no question about it.
I'm telling you, you're tied together now, whether you like it or not.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it.
You can't do that now. And you listen to Flan and these guys talk, right? Now, that's one thing. I got to say this, but I am a fan. Like when Goose came up, man, I was in the heyday of my life in the 70s with the Yankee fan. I was a massive Yankee kid. I lived I went to Old Timers Day every year. It was one of those things I always did. Listening to them guys talk and to meet these guys, that's the best thing about being an ex-baseball player. Is I've had the honor to meet like Nettles and Willie Randolph, Chris Chambliss, Goose. These guys that I grew up just freaking idolizing.
Does it
crazy.
Does it break your heart like it breaks mine to hear Goose say that he doesn't watch baseball anymore? And Tempe, I mean, for that matter, it's just he's like, I can't watch it. It's not the same game, because it makes me sad. Now, I didn't play, and obviously you saw me perform yesterday. I'd never had any shot of playing.
I closed my eyes yesterday.
Yeah, I did too. Every time I swung and missed, I closed my eyes. I closed my eyes every single time. But it does make me sad, and I wish, And I understand where they're coming from. I do. But it makes me sad that, like, they're not watching that game that they gave so much to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, I'm not going to speak for all players, but I do think there's stuff missing and I love watching the game. The guys today are super talented. Like they're really super talented. Like, yeah, they are really talented. But I think that's, to me, like, I think that's part of the game that's really kind of got lost with all the money and all the fame and all the social media and all the media in general, is that, like, players today, I don't think, and I'm not saying all.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not saying all, because I met, Joe Musgrove. Those guys are phenomenal guys. But I think looking back to the past players and the generational, to respect the guys, respect the game, what came before them, I think some of that to me is missing.
I've heard that a lot.
Like, to me, like, I idolize these guys. I can remember watching Terry Kennedy hit. I can remember like watching Goose come in. Like, and it, I love that stuff. Yeah, man. I love that stuff.
So, Arky, you're managing with Flan, and yesterday you guys pulled off a trade with TK and his team to acquire this guy, Stephen Woods. Can you talk about any of the negotiations that went on, the discussions, how that came down at the deadline?
It was tough. We went through a lot of back and forth. I got offered. We almost had a 3-team trade, 4-team trade. It was getting kind of ugly in there. It was fun, man. We need to do that more often. I said, we got to do this more often. But hey, we had a hole. We had a hole. We needed a catcher. We needed a guy that can throw the ball to second. And I have faith that Woodsy will perform at the plate, and I'm hoping to see that today.
Are you worried that if things don't go well, that he is a hair trigger and ready to charge the mound at any second? Because it sounds to me like if Woods gets one inside, he may be going after someone.
I'll be so happy if they hit me and let me on base. I will do anything. I may lean in. We have a pitching machine game today. I may lean into the machine. I just want to be on base. I want to help my team win. That's all I care about.
You'd be the first person to charge the pitching machine.
I have to say, though, man, props to Woodsy, though, because he didn't get on base yesterday. Every time we needed a pinch runner, Woodsy's like, I got it.
I had to run like 3 times. It's the only way I could help the team win. It's the only stat I really care about. But it's true, though. We talked about it a little bit earlier. We're almost out of time. But, yeah, it's great to get a win. But if you go 0 for 3 with 3 Ks, you're not feeling great about that. Even though you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And I did not feel great about it, and I'm going to do better today. And I appreciate you hear him. He said he had faith in me.
He does.
And that's the first time I've heard that.
You needed positive feedback. That's what you've been looking for.
That's what I've been looking for.
Positivity.
Yeah, that's it.
You're on the right team.
That's it. I am on the right team. You're the man.
Arky Sinfracco. Arky, thank you very much. Good to see you.
That was awesome. Thank you.
All right. We will have more campers coming by. Now, you guys have another game this morning.
We do.
At 9:30 Pacific.
Yep.
10:30 here in Arizona. So we'll save some of the Aztecs talk for the end. Maybe even a crossover. If Annie or Craig are listening right now, the last segment, I could probably do a little crossover today. But we'll do real or fake. We'll probably push that back to our 9 o'clock hour as well, because we want to get as many of the coaches and campers and special guests in as possible. We are going to do Don't Do This and saving that story about what happened. The sanctity usually of kangaroo court does not get broken. Fantasy camp.
I actually got a special judge's exemption.
His Honorable
Andy Ashby gave me an exemption to tell this story.
So we will we'll have that for you coming up in Don't Do This as well. All in hour number 2 of Ben and Woods. We are live in Peoria, Arizona. It's Padres Fantasy Camp 2024. Just fantasies all over the place on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Good chatting with Arquis and Fracco.
He's the best.
Welcome back. It's Ben and Woods, hour number 2. Day 3 out here at Padres Fantasy Camp. Will be here through tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
And then back in San Diego on Monday. Of course, we'll be back out here for Padres spring training in just over a month. In fact, it was officially announced yesterday. Pitchers and catchers will report on February 11th, Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, right.
For Padres pitchers and catchers, they're actually reporting a couple of days after the Dodgers will report first on the 9th. Full squads then coming up a few days later, I think on the 15th. And then get ready for that opening series in Korea, March 20th and 21st. I think they fly out on the 13th, maybe 12th or 13th. They'll be out there for a week, workouts in Korea. Then they'll play the 2 games, come back to San Diego, have another week. They'll play a couple of exhibition games against the Mariners.
So weird.
And then opening day against the San Francisco Giants. That Thursday is March 28th, is it? I think is whatever that Thursday is that week. 1:10 first pitch against the Giants for the home opener. Technically, 3rd game of the season on opening day 2024, all coming up.
Yeah, listen. Obviously, the WBC last year, I think threw a major monkey wrench into preparation. And it's not just us saying it. Nobody's making excuses. Big league managers have said it. Pro ball players have said it. When they've been sitting in this chair right here, it really was different. So I don't know that this one's going to be that bad.
Certainly for you, Darvish, I think, especially
I think really
pitching for Team Japan and not pitching that much.
Team Japan.
Remember, he wasn't even ready when the season started. They had to push him back about a week just to get started, and didn't end up having a terrific season. They'll need him to have a big bounce back year. Everyone's wondering, will Ha-Seong Kim make the trip to Korea? We just had Archie on, and I told you about Archie's Army. And it's almost like now there weren't as many Padres fans back then, but it was almost like that Ha-Seong Kim.
That's what I said when he sat down, the Ha-Seong Kim of your generation.
For Archie and Fracco. And I saw this tweet yesterday. And I'm not going to criticize who tweeted it. It's at King Leo XXX. He said, if the Padres trade...
Interesting Twitter handle that you were looking up yesterday.
Yeah.
Given the context of
last night.
Well, I'm sure he's on X. It's X, not Twitter. So maybe that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, 3 of them.
He said, if the Padres trade Ha-Seong Kim, I'm done with the Padres.
Wow.
And will never be a Padres supporter. I don't know what more any player has to do to get the respect that he deserves. I'm sick of reading how fans want to trade him. I'm sick of reading articles that say the Padres are shopping him. I thought that was interesting.
It is interesting.
It's not, there's nothing wrong with that perspective. You can be a huge fan of a player and be very disappointed if your team trades him. The only thing that I would disagree with is trading a player is not always a sign of disrespect. The Padres,
I think rarely is it a sign of disrespect.
Well, it's certainly not for the team acquiring, but it's not even for the team trading you as well. I promise you this. If the Padres do end up trading Ha-Seong Kim, it won't be because they don't like Ha-Seong Kim. It'll be very reluctantly, and it'll be because they feel it is their best way to address other needs, and they feel like they may not be able to re-sign him at the end of this season, and it just strategically makes more sense. But that is not in any way a sign of disrespect for Ha-Seong Kim that he is being talked about in trade possibilities.
We talked about it a week or 2 ago, and I posted the video, just that segment, on our YouTube page, and somebody left a comment that said, you guys completely flipped my opinion on this whole situation. I still hate it.
Yeah, it still sucks.
But I'm all for it now because it does make baseball sense in a certain light.
The business of baseball is awful. It is an awful, awful situation. And I was behind the dish yesterday, and Peavy, he was coaching the other team, and he watched me K 3 times, and I was in the torture chamber. Peavy walks by me, he goes, hey, that's what happens. You get on a new team, you're trying to impress everybody, and he goes, now imagine you had to find a new apartment, and your wife is pissed at you because she just got this house dialed in. You got to yank your kids out of school. He goes, imagine that. And I go, I will never talk smack again, PB, ever.
And you got 35,000 fans yelling at you because you just struck out in your first at bat.
The perspective of it all and the business of baseball it's horrible. It's terrible. You got to give something good to get something good. And again, we've heard from guys here this week that said, listen, this is not the fire sale days. And it's not a fire sale at all. If it was a fire sale, Tatis is gone. And I mean, somebody would take Tatis in a New York Minute, man. And New York may be the team that would do it. It's not that. It is, do we think he's going to continue to get better? Has he hit his ceiling? Also, what's he going to command? Can we afford to pay him $20 million plus next season? If the answer is no, then you have to bite the bullet and you have to do what you have to do. I don't want it done.
Now, there is some Ha-Sung Kim disrespect going on, but it's not from the organization that may or may not be trading him. Again, completely arbitrary lists. I don't know how they come up with these, but the MLB Network has their right now top 10 second baseman in baseball that they released last night. Now, I looked up the numbers just so I'd have a frame of reference because I was pretty sure. Last season, Ha-Sung Kim was second in all of baseball among second basemen in WAR. Had a phenomenal season. Now, the number one second baseman right now in baseball, they put as Mookie Betts. Fine, he's moving to second base. If you're going in the right now, I guess right now he's a second baseman. Don't have a problem with that. Number two was Marcus Semien. And again, okay, he led all of second basemen in WAR last year. I thought, okay, now is Ha-Sung Kim going to be 3? Because if you're going by that WAR metric, he would be 3rd.
Now, again, who put this list out?
MLB Network.
MLB Network.
Was not 3rd.
We talk about the lists all the time. Woods, you're always like, I don't care, especially when it's like Sports Illustrated or something like that. When this is the league ran network.
It's like the AP top 25 poll.
Right.
Again, it doesn't mean anything, but if you're going to do them
right.
I want you to make them make sense. And I kept going down the list. 3rd, 4th, 5th, no, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. He's not even there.
That's insane.
Did you look at who had the best season at second base last year in the National League? So yeah, it's Mookie Betts, Jose Altuve, name recognition there, Marcus Semien, Luis Arias, then Ketel Marte, Matt McClain, Andres Jimenez, Eduardo Julian, Zach Geloff, and Nico Horner. And are you telling me that you couldn't find a spot on that list for Ha-Sung Kim? Come on, make it make sense, MLB Network. Make it make sense.
It's pretty shocking. They did a fan. They asked the fans to rank theirs. The fan list was better than the MLB list, and they did have Ha-Sung Kim. I think he was 6 or 7, which is probably still a little bit too far down the list. But again, keep the disrespect up. Keep it up. Let the guys know how much they're being disrespected. Let them know no one counts. No one's counting on them to do anything this year. And potentially use that as a little bit of motivation to go out and have a good year.
But again, the reason why Ha-Sung Kim is drawing so much interest, when you look at the free agent market and the teams that need infielders, and he can play not just second, but he can play short,
third. He
can play third. There are pretty much every team probably needs one of those positions right now.
He swipes bags. He is ridiculous with the glove. He plays hair on fire every single game, like Tim Flannery. The guy's out there busting his ass every game. No respect.
And he's making $8 million this year. It's an amount that any team can fit in their budget. Even if the Oakland A's wanted him, they could
100%.
They could find a way to fit Ha-Sung Kim in their budget. That's why he's generating so much talk. He's a unicorn right now in baseball. He's a up the middle, top tier
wizard
infielder who can get on base. He's got a little bit of power now, and he's very affordable, even if it's just for one season. Any team that's trying to win this year would want to have Ha-Sung Kim. So, yeah, they're all picking up the phone. And they see A.J. Preller's got a glut of infielders. He's got a top prospect coming up in Jackson Merrill, who plays the middle infield. He knows he's been trying to, pare down the payroll a little bit and probably doesn't have what it takes to sign a major long-term extension, at least right now. So, of course, they're going to be calling about Ha-Sung Kim. And, A.J. Preller's playing it right. He says the price tag is incredibly high.
Sure.
It's really, really high, but we're not going to say no. If you want to come and bowl us over and knock us down with an offer that really helps our team this year and, puts guys in positions that we need, maybe helps our pitching staff a little bit, adds a prospect, another one to our growing list of top prospects. Yes, we're going to listen on Ha-Sung Kim. You have to.
Well, and there was another list yesterday, Ben, that came out that was a little bit more glowing about A.J. Preller and the work that he's done. And I think you got to give credit where credit is due. Everybody to a man and woman last year, the year before, said, man, the Padres have absolutely gutted their farm system. They've got nothing left. Nothing at all. And the work that he and Chris Kemp and the scouting department has done to replenish this farm has been phenomenal. And how phenomenal has it been?
Yeah, Baseball America came out with their latest top 100 prospects list, and the Padres landed 6 on the top 100 list, one of just 4 teams to do so, along with the Orioles, Rays, and Yankees headlining the list this year, all the way up to number 8 in the top 10 of Major League Baseball prospects in the minors is Ethan Salas at 17 years old. Padres catcher acquired last year in the international market just about a year ago, this week, since they're doing that right now. After that, they've got Jackson Merrill as number 17, left-hander Robbie Snelling at number 27, righty Dylan Lesko at number 38, the recently acquired Drew Thorpe, right-handed pitcher from the Yankees at number 58, and the very newcomer, new shortstop Leo DeVries, is number 99 after a hot minute in the Padres system.
That's
after
incredible.
Signing just earlier this week. He cracks the top 100 of Baseball America prospects already, giving them 6. And guess what? They probably have, Marcy, Paulie, a bunch of those guys are probably in the 100 to 125 type range.
Also
as well.
receiving votes.
Yes,
for
in
those
the top, in the AP poll.
Those
here,
guys.
so.
A lot of people high on those guys for sure.
So you can see that the system is rebuilt. You talked.
Where is Delilah on the list?
I haven't seen Delilah on
She's
the prospect rankings. Pretty high.
Pretty high, yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
Shooting up the charts. But you talked people in the building this week. You talked about it earlier this week. You asked, okay, we've seen the lists before.
Oh,
AJ has put together good lists.
Many of
He's impressed Baseball America before. But is he impressing the people who see them every day, who watch baseball? And you said they have a different feeling about this crop than maybe some of the earlier highly touted prospects.
They absolutely do. And it would, they said, look, Marcy, Paulie, those guys can mash. They can mash. They're dudes. They may not be ready right now today, but hey, they are going to absolutely compete, and they're going to need a little more seasoning, a lot more ABs, Ben, but these guys are going to be able to play at the big league level. That gave me a lot of confidence because these are guys here that I trust a lot. And I've been out here 5 years, never heard it before. Never. I've never once. The first time ever that I've heard it from these guys.
All right, a Throwback Thursday, but we're going to hold off on Real or Fake until a little bit later in the show today. Paul, you were just going around.
The show has come to fruition here. So we're going to break a little early. I want to leave all the time in the world for don't do this today.
Yeah.
We're going to have a special guest.
One story, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to have the subject of that story join us here live at Padres Fantasy Camp. That's coming up next.
All right.
Then at 7:35, Tim Flannery will be joining us.
I saw him with his guitar walking in a second ago.
And then at 8 o'clock, the Hall of Famer, Trevor Hoffman.
Okay.
Come on, dude.
We got a reason for you to stick around. Don't go anywhere. It's Bennett Woods. We'll be right back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. I don't think we've ever done this before,
Nope.
but we actually have a live guest here today for Don't Do This.
We do.
And Woods had to actually receive a special dispensation
I did.
from his Honorable Andy Ashby, presiding over Kangaroo Court here at Fantasy Camp.
Yeah, and if you don't know what Kangaroo Court is, it's something they used to do in the big leagues a lot. And if guys do things, there's a guy, there's a judge. He puts a wig on, he's got a robe, and he comes up, he's got a gavel. And I'd like to bring Ben in front of Kangaroo Court. We were all picking baseballs, and Ben decided he's too good. He's too big league to pick balls with us. And all right, that's $20 fine. Ben, you put it in the pot. You got to use it for beer money or whatever. So we do it here at Fantasy Camp. Look, usually it gets pretty ridiculous. It gets very ridiculous. And I had to grab Ashby in the hall and say, look, I know what happens in Kangaroo Court stays in Kangaroo Court. That's like the number one rule. I said, I need a special dispensation. I need you to allow me to be able to do this story because it was the best one I've ever heard. Joined right now by our fellow camper, Bart Jacobs. Good morning. Get him cranked up there. All right, now you're hot.
Good morning, everybody.
So yesterday, Carly, she's the coordinator of camp. She brings you up in front of the court,
The panel.
and tell everybody what you were charged with.
So I was charged with showing up to camp without registering.
Camp crashing.
Camp crashing, as it were.
You ever see Major League, Willie Mays Hayes? Yeah. He just showed up, and I
don't remember a Hayes
he's on the list. They come in the middle of the night, they drag him out.
Yeah.
Now, you're not fast like Willie Mays Hayes.
Not at all.
So, bro, at one point, they started grabbing the stuff out of his locker, throwing him on the ground. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. What happened?
Like Fantasy Camp we've talked about it. It's like $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah, it's pricey.
It's not something that you can just kind of forget about.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you, because you've been to camp before. How many camps have you been to?
This is my third one.
This is your third camp.
Yeah.
Did you think it was like Amazon Prime and it just renewed?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what happened.
I thought it was auto renew. And then Carly said, no, fool, it's not auto renew. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, you haven't been checking your credit card statements? And I was like, sort of. I don't know.
Pay a lot of attention.
Sure, yeah.
So my man walks in here on Sunday, and I saw this, and I didn't really know what was going on, but he goes, I don't have a locker. There's no locker for me. And she goes, yeah, because you're not on the list. You didn't register. So what happened?
How do you even know when to come?
I was like, of course I registered. Yeah, I got the email, and then I was like, oh my God, maybe I didn't register.
So were you not getting all the emails we've been getting?
That was another clue. Yeah, that I should have picked up on.
Dude, this guy showed up to Fantasy Camp, gear in tow. There is no jersey.
Ready to roll.
There is ready to roll.
Yeah.
He just walked in. And so they had to like scrounge together a jersey with no name, no number for a while.
Oh, I had no hotel reservations.
Of course
nothing.
not. Oh,
yeah.
Where did you stay?
I actually rolled here Saturday. I stayed with a buddy who lives in Peoria.
Okay.
And then I came here Sunday, and I brought all my gear in a little tub. I was ready to roll. Walk around. There's no locker. I'm like,
did you panic then?
I started to. Yeah. I was like, wait, J. H. Wait a minute. So that's when I went to Carly, and she's like, did you register? And I was like, yeah. No. Apparently not. I was ready to drive home.
Oh, my
Honestly,
God.
I was ready to drive home.
Imagine showing up back at home and being like,
I'm home a week early.
I would have just stayed and just raged all week and been like, camp was great. No pictures this year, though.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's literally one of the best stories I've ever heard in my life, Bart. I cannot believe that it happened. So then they because they're just the most accommodating people.
They are.
They figured it out for you. Did they just get your card and just run it then?
Yeah, I told her, I said, don't I have a card on file? She's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, well, run it. Please.
I mean,
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a fantasy game.
Exactly.
It's exactly like, you're like a Dodger. They just defer the payments. And that's the thing. I mean, not everybody can handle just a $6,000 charge right there. I would have had to do some maneuvering to get that done.
Oh, I told her, hey, if it gets declined, let me know, please. I might hit my limit. I might
split it.
Yeah, I need to make a payment.
Bro,
yeah.
I gotta tell you, like I said, usually in Kangaroo Court, I'm like, please stop bringing up cases. Let's get this thing over with. Come on. When that happened yesterday, I was in hysterics. I mean, my stomach hurt. Here's Carly right here.
Good morning, Carly.
You made it so you were so accommodating. You got him in the camp. That's never happened before. Never. Better never happen.
Oh,
again.
I'm going to register today for the next
For the
one.
next
Okay?
one.
We good? Auto renew, right?
This dude literally thought it was Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
and it's
a
just
subscription
over.
service.
It's a
Here, right?
subscription. Yeah, like your Netflix bangs you for $13.99 a month. Oh, here it is, $6,000 charge. I'm off the fantasy camp,
Yeah.
bro. And nothing tipped you off.
Nothing. Other than I have this feeling like when I wasn't getting some emails
That you were
I'm
forgetting.
like, okay, well maybe they
But
got
they
the
know
wrong
me.
email address.
They know me.
Yeah, they know
I've
me.
been
I'm
there.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you knew when it started, obviously. You
Yeah.
figured that part out. And
Yeah,
when
I
you
asked
show
somebody
up,
like, hey, can you send me the schedule? He sent me the schedule. I'm like, all right, January 14th, I'm there.
I'll be there.
I
Bart,
just roll in like I own the place.
Bart, it was so good. What did they find? How much did they find? Well, they find you like $6,000, but
Yeah.
how much did they find you for that?
58.50. No. They fined me $60.
That's not
which
bad.
is not terrible.
Now listen, you listening in the audience, don't get any ideas.
Yeah,
Don't
no.
just show up here with your bag and your gear ready to go. They're
Yeah.
not going to be as accommodating for you. He's a veteran. He's been here before. Make sure if you want to come next year, you get on the list, you register now, and get your thing paid. Bart, you are the man.
I was very lucky, and this is one of the best experiences you can ever have.
Never.
You love baseball. You love the Padres. You've got to do it. Just register in
All right, don't
advance.
kiss their ass now after you've already put them through the ringer. But you're the man, dude. That was amazing. That's Bart Jacobs,
ballsy.
everybody.
Thanks,
that's
everybody.
for sure, to show up to fantasy camp
And
without a
a
reservation.
I want to get it on record. I grabbed Ashby in the hall and I said, "You have to let me do it." He looked at me. He goes, "You got it," just like that. Now I'm probably going to get banged for that still tomorrow in Kangaroo Court. It's fine. It's worth it. It's worth it.
I won't even go to a decent restaurant for dinner if I don't know I've got a reservation.
Bro.
And they know I'm showing up. I feel
it's
just rude to show up without a reservation.
Of course, the feeling that you have, and there's that uneasy feeling like you're forgetting something. It must have been overwhelming. Well, clearly, it wasn't overwhelming. He would have done a little research on it, but it was just one of the best cases I've ever heard in there. 95% of them are terrible. That one knocked my
Just
socks
walking
off.
up to him and like, so no emails,
Nothing.
like nothing. You didn't think that was weird?
Yeah, because they send you a ton.
We do Zoom calls
There's
throughout
Zoom
the
meetings,
year. Like,
yeah.
hey, we're 3 months out. We have some updates. Commissioner Randy Jones would like to say something on Zoom tonight. We'll see you then. He didn't get any of that, and just thought, oh well, I'm showing up.
It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. I think it ate up most of our time here.
Yeah,
Let's break. Let's go get Tim Flannery.
Yeah, we may
Yeah,
get
the
a couple
Flan
of
man.
guests. I see Flan coming in, so let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Hopefully, a couple of Padres camp guests going to join us. When we come back, it's Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Got to say, Woodsy, I've been looking forward to this conversation all camp long. So let's get right to it. We're back here in Peoria, Arizona, Padres Fantasy Camp. Ben and Woods live, and we are joined by a World Series winner, former third base coach, Padres, San Francisco Giants. He's back here with the Padres at Fantasy Camp for the first time, a rookie at Fantasy Camp. It's great to see Tim Flannery here on 97.3 The Fan. Flan, good morning. You're looking great.
Well, thank you.
Which I know was a little dicey for a while. We were worried about you. It's great to see you back healthy and here with the Padres again.
It's great to be back here. It's great to be on your show. I listen to you a lot and always amazed how you guys can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and show up at work and put on a show. You know, I used to walk in here all the time. Anybody that played for me or I coached with knows that day games, I'd always walk in and say, what's everybody doing up in the middle of the night? I mean, I'm a musician.
You're a night owl, man.
But for you guys to do what you do, that's impressive.
Thank you. I can listen to Flan talk. He's got the most soothing voice. He hits the best fungos that you've ever seen in your life and makes even the worst ball players look good with the way that he runs his squad.
Well, the funny thing is, of course, he often got mistaken for your father-in-law, the late Lauren Nancaro.
Absolutely.
But
So
it wasn't
funny.
just the look; it's also the voice.
The
'Cause
voice.
Lauren had great pipes too, just the deep, rich baritone when he was giving the weather on Channel 10 was always amazing, and he was a good mentor of mine when I was first coming up in television.
Wouldn't you guys sign each other's names on autographs?
We had so much fun together because people would walk up to me and even say, "What's the weather going to be?" I go, I use the old Dylan thing, look up and see, check it out, I go, I'm not that guy. And Lauren also dealt with it on his side. And we had this connection, and our whole family, as you well know, it's almost like we were the same family. We had the boys the same age. We have girls the same age. They all look alike. But Lauren and I, worked at Channel 8 News Television for a couple years, and we would do little skits all the time, and it was really fun. But I'd run into him at all sorts of places after shows, musical shows, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're coming out and there's Lauren. And there was one year over here at this Mimi's Cafe a few miles up the road. I come walking in for breakfast, same exact seat that at the table, same exact. Every day I eat there, every day. And I walk in and Lauren is sitting in my seat.
So
I go,
weird, man.
How did you get here? Why are you here? And you're in my seat.
and the connection is still there, with our families.
Absolutely.
Now, your grandkids, my kids, your granddaughter, and my son. And there was a picture I posted the other day, and
you want them married right now.
I want them married right now.
It's an arranged marriage.
I'm telling you, their family, the Joneses, they're just some of my favorite human beings on the planet. Your grandson Jesse is literally, I feel like he's my own kid, and I try to take care of him like he is. He's such a good kid with a big heart, and it's so fun to coach him.
You did a great job.
Thank
You're an
you.
Amazing coach for those children. I mean, you had them motivated. You had people Jesse didn't know anything about baseball, and I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to protect from his father, Travis. Who wants him in the big leagues at 8.
He does, dude.
Yeah.
I always got to call Travis. I go, he's gonna be all right.
My
man.
wife says all the time, we got to protect Jesse from Travis. So thank you for what you did.
You're welcome, man. I love so much yesterday sitting there watching you guys on that panel, talking to Tim Flannery here on Ben and Woods, telling the stories of '84 and listening. My favorite part is when you guys talk about the camaraderie that you had, the respect that you had for each other as well. What was your role on that team, Tim, would you say back then?
I was a utility guy that would come off the bench and play 3 positions. A pinched hit coming off the bench, was double switched. It was if you look at numbers through the years, and I'm not going to brag a little bit, but I just want to make this very perfectly clear because I hear it all the time from, they think because I went to San Francisco, we were traders. No, I needed a job, and we were run out by the Alderson crew, and I needed to eat, and my children needed to eat. So I went up there and did what I had to do. But I just found out I'm still the most games play of any second baseman with the Padres. I'm 4th all time in Padres games played. So I was there a long time. And my point saying all of that was there was years I had a lot of at bats when guys were hurt and hit 280. That year in 84, I think I maybe had close to 200 at bats, but every single one meant something. And to be able to give Templeton a rest at shortstop and Greg Nettles a rest at third and Alan Wiggins at rest at second. If you're going to be a utility player and a role player, you have to accept what you're doing. You have to accept the position in order to work on it. And if you can really step out of your ego and step out of your mind and look back after you give guys days off, and then you see Templeton goes, 3 weeks he's on fire because he had a couple days rest.
Yeah,
that's also part of the role. But together, there's never been a club that I'd ever been on or a bunch of amazing players and we sit, and this is the core.
Yeah,
you throw like Tim Stoddard would be in here once in a while with this group, but Andy Hawkins was every night. These boys, and I was included with them. Bochy, we would be out with Goose and causing a
on your bellies, everybody.
As Dave Drevecki, when we get a 1-run lead, he'd always yell on your bellies before we went out to get the last 3 outs.
Yep.
But just sitting down and starting up again with these guys, and you watch Trevor Hoffman and you watch Peavy just sit there and are amazed, and they go, God, I wish I could have been a part of this crew,
That's awesome.
And I know for you, it was great because you had the full confidence of your manager, Dick Williams, who holds you in an extremely high regard. And I say that jokingly. I don't know if you got the PG-rated version of what Dick said to you, but you shared it last night with some of the campers, and I was floored.
Yeah, well, he did that really. First of all, when we had an injury and he was thinking about trying to get a trade to replace. This was the year before. This all started the year before, and I was the second baseman. I mean, I came up through the minor leagues, and I could do that. But he wanted to bring somebody in from Montreal, so I went into his office to see what was, because he always said his door was open. Well, it is open. You don't want to go.
You don't want to go in. Yeah.
He said, "You're the worst player I ever had." Says you can't hit, you can't throw, you can't run, you hustle, you got to hustle. You can't do nothing else. Right now, while we're talking, I'm looking for another second baseman. You're in the game tonight, but don't screw it up.
Holy cow, dude.
But at the end of the year, he called me in and said, I made a terrible mistake on you, and as long as I'm here, you're here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I got scars all over me. I'm running through walls, playing for my life every night. But he did that to every single player in their own way in June and July because he wanted his team who could handle that heat to be the playoff run in August and September and October.
And I love your story too, because we're talking to Tim Flannery here on Ben and Woods this morning. Because man, you're as old school as it gets. But when you were with the Giants, you had some personalities. There's some big personalities. I think of Tim Lincecum. I think of a guy like him. Bit out there, kind of a dreamer, one of the best bursts of a career I think I've ever seen in my entire life. What were those guys like, working with those guys and those personalities when you went up there?
It was one of the great joys because the phone call I got before Boch went, I was walking my dog. Don and I were walking the neighborhood, and I get a phone call, and Boch says, I can only bring one coach, and I have to have you. I need you. And I looked at my wife and she goes, "You're going again?" I go, "Yeah. I got one more ride in me." But we left everything. I needed to work, I said, and I wanted to get back. And it was a great bunch of guys. We came in after our job was to come in after Barry Bonds left and kind of, after the nuclear warhead blew up.
Right.
We needed to come in and create a ball club. So that was our mission. And then we saw the young pitching in 2010 when Timmy started showing up, and Kane and Bumgardner and the crew of Crawford and Buster, the homegrown group that came up. It was really a thrill to be a part of that legacy too. Anytime you can sustain and keep playing and keep coaching and being a part of baseball, you want to do it. But then all of a sudden you have something magic. It doesn't happen very often. I just feel honored to be a part of a team and a coach who brought the first world championships to San Francisco. They had a bunch of, in New York, but then also to be a part of the Padres legacy, that the only 2 teams that have gone to World Series, I've been a part of them as well.
I'd imagine Boch called you for input about a year ago when he was thinking about taking the Rangers job. What did you tell him?
Well, he actually texted me 2 weeks ago or a week ago when I was driving over here when he found out I was coming to fantasy camp. And he goes, if I knew you wanted to work, I would have brought you to Texas. I said, brother, I got 1 week in me.
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah, we were out at we were taking some grounders and stuff, and we went out to the outfield, and Flan was telling us about it was one of the more fascinating conversations that I've ever heard. You were talking about signs, and coaching third base is a tremendous responsibility, and I'm sure you set guys when you shouldn't have, and I'm sure the opposite is true as well. But
no one ever says, wow, that was a great decision by the third base coach.
And
only a bad decision.
And no one ever says, and it doesn't even happen anymore because there's not an 8th hitter coming up. There's not a pitcher. There's, you have to know, because you don't have to play extra innings anymore. They put a guy on second base. You don't have to say, we knew if we couldn't play extra innings. So sometimes you'd be trying to win the game in the 8th and 9th because you couldn't play 14. You needed to either win then or lose then because you got to play the next night. And the managing, to be a great manager, you had to manage the bullpen the whole season, not just for that night.
Sure.
So all of that stuff's been taken out, and the game's changing, and it's still a beautiful game. And no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to ruin it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I'm so glad to hear you say that because, it did, and we talked about it with Archie too. It breaks my heart to hear that Goose Gossage doesn't watch baseball anymore. And the Tempe doesn't even watch baseball. It really makes me sad. And I understand it. I do. But I also am like, man, you're missing out on some pretty freak athleticism. Guys throwing stuff I've never seen before. Some of the guys throwing these pitches, I'm like, it's just insane to me. I'm glad to hear you say that you still love the game and how beautiful it is. Tell everybody, though. I mean, baseball players, not the smartest group a lot of the times. You really had to dumb down your signs a lot. You really did.
Well, Jerry Coleman told me on the air when I was working with him, Tim, these guys are the biggest. These guys are bigger, faster, stronger, and dumber than ever before. And I'm supposed to comment on that. I went totally quiet because I wanted to go I wanted to go back to the clubhouse. I wanted to get a beer after the game. So, you have to know who your
audience is.
I would tell people you can speak 5 languages. That's really great. But if you can't communicate who you're talking to, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So you have to have signs that were so simple. I always tell them it's like the arrow on the FedEx truck.
I love that, the hidden arrow on the FedEx arrow.
You don't really ever see it until somebody shows it to you.
You cannot stop seeing it.
Those were my signs. They were that simple, but I had a couple ways of throwing you off. And why do I do that? Because like it or not, and believe what you want to believe, every third base coach had a television camera on them and videoing every sign. And we would go back and log the tapes afterwards and try to connect. So if you could throw them off, because why do I know that? How do I know that? Well, Glenn Hoffman, who I went to high school with, and the woman I've been married with 43 years, Glenn dated her on Fridays. I dated her on Saturdays. So we're still kind of always trying to bust each other's chops.
Yeah.
So he would sometimes, and I did this to LA too, I'd put my hit and run sign on, and then I would put their hit and run sign on top of mine. So when they're logging the tapes, they go, oh my God, they got our sign. It's a little propaganda, a little warfare.
Art of war.
Absolutely. And when I hear people say, what do you mean the catcher, where somebody was banging on the trash can? You're telling me the catcher can't hear it? A coach can't hear it? Is anybody paying attention anymore?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I love the part of it. And you did
it.
What? Archie. What was my hit and run? What was my hit and run sign? Ha. Hit and run. What was my belt sign? Bunt. What was my steel sign?
Slack. Yeah, steel.
Yeah, this is rocket science.
It's just, and you're talking big. You're talking the big leagues, a billion-dollar industry, and he's like, I had to make it elementary for these guys. The art of war stuff is just the most fascinating stuff ever.
It's actually what it's all about, And we always did that to each other, third base coach. And that's what I yelled out from the bench one night. I didn't let Glenn hear it, but I told all the players in San Francisco the story I just told you about the woman I've been married to.
Yeah.
And so when he would run out to third base, I'd yell out, I stole your woman and I'm coming after your signs.
Incredible. just an incredible story. Tell everybody, if you would. I love what you've committed yourself to after baseball. Tell everybody about Love Harder.
Yeah, what's funny, when I went up to San Francisco, we had a 2-year contract, no guarantees. So I said to myself, I'm not going to meet anybody. I'm not going to let anybody in on anything. I'm not going to let them know I play music, because I got in a little trouble because that front office, when I was down there, didn't understand in San Diego that you could do both.
Yeah.
Up there, they understand you can be an artist and still coach third, but I still didn't want to get my heart broken. Well, then that incident in LA when Brian Stowe, the fan, got beat into a coma and is just he got jumped opening day in LA. So people were trying to raise some money, and somehow my name came up about doing a benefit show, and then one thing led to another. We sold out theaters. I brought my amazing band from San Diego up. It was wonderful, and we raised a lot of money, a couple $100,000 to give to Brian Stowe's family for his brain, all the rehab it's going to take. And then we started a Love Harder project, I called it. It's anti-violence, anti-bullying. It's a nonprofit, the loveharderproject.org. You can see what we do. We started, Bobby Weir and the Dead started dragging me around.
Amazing.
And we started selling joints out and raising a lot of money and putting these programs in schools and in domestic violence houses. Every place we played, we would leave money for something, and it blew up. I mean, we played the Fillmore, we played the Great American Music Hall, Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival. I mean, the list goes on, and I'm still. It was 12 years, and we're still going up there almost every weekend and play shows.
That's incredible. Loveharder.org.
Yeah. That's our mission. All the money from the music and all the money from the merch, it all goes to the Love Harder project.
If you follow Flan on social media, you'll see he's playing up and down the coast, belly up, all the way up the coast, and Lunatic Fringe, and the music career is back up and running again. So it's great to see you again. Great to see you healthy. Great to see you back in brown and gold a little bit as well.
Thank you for having me. And I don't know how to do the Facebook Live thing. I'm going to try to get it on my band page, because Peavy's here, and we brought our guitar player from the Bay Area here, and we're playing a show tonight. I drove over with amplifiers, microphones, and guitars, and we're going to get Jake to do his thing as well. We've caused some trouble together over the years.
Tim Flannery, everybody. All right, don't go away. We're going to check traffic. We'll be back and tell you what's coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. And Paulie says, we've got the great Trevor Hoffman locked in coming up here at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock. So do not go anywhere. Trevor's going to join us as well as we continue here live at Padres Fantasy Camp with Ben and Woods. It's been a spectacular week. I'm glad that I finally made it out. I've enjoyed myself immensely, even though I'm not playing baseball. And hopefully I'll put this on my calendar every year going forward.
I'll tell you this. You would not enjoy yourself immensely if you were playing
That's what
baseball.
I think.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like you're making it worse on yourself by going out there.
You made the right decision. What do they say in Moneyball? We're all told. Some of us are told at 18. Some of us are told at 48. But we're all told, I may have hit the threshold. It may be time. But I mean, I can barely move right now. My back hurts. My quads hurt. I had to catch yesterday. I don't know how I'm going to swing the bat today, Benny. So you're the smart one, and I'm the dumb one, as usual.
I think a PV Flannery concert.
It's going to be incredible.
What would people pay to come and see that?
It's incredible.
That's going to happen here tonight. That's amazing. I don't know if there will be any video. Tim talked about Facebook Live, or if it'll just end up being for the campers. But we'll certainly we'll have the recap for you tomorrow for sure. Morning on how it all goes.
Maybe our channel.
Oh yeah, maybe we can put it on the Ben and Woods channel.
Probably
if we get, you got to get authorization here. It's fantasy camp.
Oh yeah, we'll get authorization.
Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
that would be very cool.
Yeah,
see that tonight on our YouTube stream.
You see a guy like Jake Peavy, and you're like, all right, well, you won a Cy Young. You were an absolutely elite pitcher. You're as handsome as the day is long, and you play guitar and sing. Cool, man.
Oh, and he's a heck of a television broadcaster.
Incredible on the air, and you're like, you just want to give him one of those. You're like, come on, man. Like, what are you bad at? Man, it's still a trip seeing all these guys out here running around, and just as cool and kind as they can be, as forthcoming with information as you could ever ask for.
So we'll have a lot coming up still in our last 2 hours. We got some real or fake. We're going to still try to someone this week on 1984 Padres trivia in a real or fake game, a chance to qualify for a trip to Las Vegas. Aztecs did win last night. I'll share some thoughts as well as Paulie and Woods head out to the field at the end of the show. So that's all coming up. Second half of Ben and Woods when we come back right here in Peoria, Arizona on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. That song can only mean one thing.
Yeah.
Welcome back. It is Ben and Woods, hour number 3, Thursday morning, live from Peoria, Arizona. And as Hell's Bells toll, we welcome the Hall of Famer, the Cy Young Award runner-up. Did you actually win one? You didn't win it. You should have won it. You were the runner-up in 1998. It was Rob because a couple of voters kept you off the ballot, but they were idiots. Trevor Hoffman is with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Hi, Trevor.
Good morning, fellas. Nice to be with you.
Good to see you, man.
2024 fantasy camp. This is fantastic.
We made it. You made it yesterday.
And you're inside, too. They don't have you outside freezing, which is great.
Well, that'll be us in about a month. We'll be out there.
When the big boys come to town.
When the big boys come in.
We point out, we get the run of the place here. We can go anywhere we want. When we come back,
I feel like a kid.
We were like handcuffed to the table.
Wait, I was in here. I was right there like a month ago. Come on.
I remember walking in and Paulie said, I was going to grab a water. He said, you can't go in there. I'm like, oh, my. I
know where it's at, though.
I guess I'll just die
The
then.
fridge is full. Nobody's touching it.
Man, it's good to see you again. The last time I saw you, Trevor, and I've been dying to talk to you about it since May of last year. Go to see The Cure with my pal Corey, and the show starts, and there's 4 empty seats next to me, and I'm like, well, this is great. Going to have my run of the dance. I can do whatever I want. I got all this room. Well, I look over, and I elbow Corey, and I go, look who's walking down the aisle. And it's Trevor Hoffman, it's your wife, Tracy, and it was Brad Osmus and his wife.
You got it.
And you guys roll in. And when I say that
Sorry we took your dance floor.
Oh, I'm fine. I got to say, you're maybe the last person I thought I would see at a Cure concert. But you said something to me that night that I've been dying to talk to you about. So we're watching the show, and it's incredible. Trevor puts his arm around me. He goes, you know what, Woodsy? He goes, that's all I ever wanted. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, that. I just wanted to sing or play drums or guitar. And I looked at him and I go, you're in the Hall of Fame. You're fine. You're good. Like, you can't have it all.
You're always tempted about something that you don't have a grasp on.
Of course.
You know what's going to be fun today is like Jake and Glenn are going to play.
It's going to be great.
You know, it might turn into karaoke and will really stink, but
I brought my guitar if you want to try to pick on that as well. But that's
all I ever wanted. Remember, there's a reason.
Is that true?
I think it's just, my dad being a singer and a big part of his life, I appreciated the arts and I appreciated kind of the talent that takes. The work is still the work. I mean, 100%. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, but I appreciate music, and to be able to make great music is something that I think is underrated.
So why didn't you?
I didn't have the patience, and maybe that side of the brain wasn't overtaking the other side of the brain. And I picked up a guitar, and my fat fingers don't work, and the frets, messed it up. Yeah. My mom had me take piano lessons at like 8-9 years old, and I'd have to come in at 2:00 after we got home from school, and everybody's playing wiffle ball outside. And I'm like, Mom, I just, everybody's playing ball outside. That's what I want to do. And she goes, look, you make your decision after our first session of, lessons, and you do what you want. But if you don't stick with it, you're going to regret it. And sure enough, we'd come back from road trips, and we might be waiting on bags or something in a hotel room or in the hotel lobby, and there's a piano, and someone would walk over. Mike Tompkins would go over and pick it, and it brought everybody over. And it's such a powerful tool that I wish I would have stuck with.
I know part of the Hoffman legend, and I've heard the story before. Your dad was the singing vendor at the Big
singing
A.
Usher.
The singing usher at the Big A. Now, did he sing professionally as well outside of that? I don't think I ever heard that story.
He did. He was part of a group called the Royal Guards. He served the Marines in World War II as an older gentleman, but he was previously a singer, traveled the world, and then after the war went back to singing world fairs and New York. Did some stuff with singing cowboy. That was another connection with the Angels, and so he was really good at what he did. And the baseball story outside of being the singing usher and traffic would get crazy on I-5. He'd always have his harmonica, and they'd come to him. He was like the first closer of the family, late relief, singer, if you will. They go, hey, Ed, our singer's stuck in traffic. He's not going to make it. He goes, give me 5, tunes up, and goes out and takes care of the national anthem. But
wow,
Glenn, when he was a high school senior, Joe Stevenson, the head scout, big scout with the Red Sox back in the day. Glenn goes, hey, if I make it to the big leagues, I'd like you guys to fly my dad out. And he ran up the flagpole, and he probably did some background check, make sure he was Roseanne Barr or something like that. Yeah. And sure enough, I go, you know what? That'd be great, Glenn. You make it to the big leagues. Sure enough, we'll do it. And it coincided with Carlton Fisk's first game back in Fenway when he was with the White Sox. And you have Harry Carey announcing the game, recognizing my dad, young Glenn Hoffman, shortstop's dad, going to sing the national anthem today, and he belts it out, and they run off the field together, and they used that in my retirement ceremony almost 40, 50 years later. It was incredible.
Incredible story. That, and for me, for you, it was just another concert. I got to watch one of my favorite bands with Trevor Hoffman, Hall of Famer, arm around me, singing Just Like Heaven, a moment I will never, ever, ever, ever forget for as long as I live. It was. I love that band. I wanted to see him. I hadn't seen him in forever. And now it's my favorite show I've ever been to.
They were so good. They sat. Close your eyes. You're thinking you're listening to a record.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It was perfect. So talking to Trevor Hoffman here, if you didn't know, here on Ben and Woods, what are you doing now? I know what is your role with the San Diego Padres, and how is that going?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a similar special assistant role. We'll be involved in the community in San Diego. I'll be out in spring training. Hopefully, I have to still talk with our new manager, Mike Schilt.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got bigger fish to fry than worry about whether Hoffy's coming to camp, but I'll have my fire pit ready to go. I'll be in town.
He's pretty thorough. He'll get to you. He'll get your thoughts on everything.
I'm excited to still be a part of it, and looking forward to the Pods having a good year.
What was your takeaway? Obviously, last season was disappointing with such the high expectations, and yet I think expectations should remain high. I know people disagree with me. I know there's Padres fans. All of a sudden, all right, I'm not going to expect anything this year. Juan Soto's been traded. Blake Snell, free agent, he's gone. Josh Hader is gone, and it turns around. I look, at the names that are going to be in there in a few weeks, and my expectations are still fairly high for this team.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think the cover is far from being bare, and the opportunity that some of the people that are getting to come into our organization that they're going to have is going to be one that they can run with. So, anybody can be beaten on any given day. And the expectation, I think you look at, okay, they didn't play great as a club last year. It's not going to be the same guys, so therefore we should expect less. And I think it was a weird year. The fact that they weren't able to come together and get much over 500 baffles me. I think it baffles our whole fan base. We constantly were waiting for that 17-game run like they had at the very end, but at least that was happening. And then you look up and you go, they only 2 shy of 500. That's crazy. But the expectations should still be what they are, and go after that big juggernaut up north. And it is what it is. Anybody can get beaten. It's a long season. My thing is, I'd like to see the postseason changed. Like, okay, I get we're going to have to fight for a division and what have you, but I just don't like that big gap that the number one teams have.
Okay,
I hate the format. We play for 6 months straight. They play for 6 months straight, and then you give them 5 days off. That's longer than the All-Star break that they get.
Sure.
It makes no sense.
We talked about this yesterday, and I don't like just having one game, though, decide everything in a wild card. So I'm okay with the 3-game. I think they should change the 5-game division series at least to a 7-gamer, so that if a team that earns a bye and has a few days off has a bad day or two as they're getting back into it, they're not already facing elimination in a best-of-5 series. And I get it. It's hurt the Dodgers the last couple of years.
Crushed them.
I don't have a problem with that, but I think the most fair way is at least make it a 7-game series. I mean, the NBA does 7 every single way through. It's baseball. 7. Give me 7.
It was the first time that I actually was excited to watch more baseball than worrying about what football game was on Thursday. And if we shorten the season up, we start a full gamut of playoff games through the month of October, you're going to dominate the television. And it make every one a 7 games. So one plays 8, you add another one, 1 through 8.
Yeah.
7 games. If you get
154, go back
you
to
get
your
days off there,
season.
then boom.
Okay.
So be it.
Yeah, I can do that.
People love it in hockey because you want a full slate, and it'll determine which team's better.
I got mad at the national writers, though, because, look, at the end of the day, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, if they hit, and I understand 5 days off, I love 5 days off in a row. I love it. And I'm going to come back refreshed and recharged and ready to go. And I understand baseball's different, creature of habit. Is there anything a team can do to simulate, to make sure they're ready? I mean,
there was teams, I think the Braves even brought in fans, and they really tried to replicate kind of that. You're just not going to. They had great inter-squad games. They had AAA guys that they were still, performing and getting ready, so that if they did get to the postseason, they'd be able to utilize it. So I don't think there's anything you can kind of recreate.
I don't necessarily like the NBA has gone to the 10 teams in the play-in tournament, and Now I feel like the regular season is just pointless. You're playing all these games and you're putting everybody into the postseason. So you got it, that fine line. I think you might be onto something.
Expansion's coming around the corner, so we're probably going to have a couple more teams.
Yeah,
but
8 out of so that would be 16 out of 32. So that would be the
halfway point.
Half of the teams make the playoffs. You're getting on the edge there, but
a little bit. So you
one,
go 6, and then you still go 7-game series.
If one can't beat 8 in a 7-game series,
right? There's your advantage.
They weren't that good. They weren't that good to begin with, right?
But to get your point, like Diamondbacks were real. Like I don't think anybody expected. We saw them throughout the year. They were pesky little team, but were they going to be able to go up against a team that's loaded? Pitching got a little funky for them at the end there, and they ran the table.
Would you shorten the regular season?
I wouldn't have a problem. We've already done so much to the game at this point. And hey, I don't know if you wanted to ask Goose that one yesterday, by the way. Your interview with Goose was on the loose, man. It was on the loose. I was
we were a little worried about that one. Yeah.
Oh, Goose is amazing.
I will never forget.
And if he was this close to you, I could see why you were scared.
I was sweating.
He pointed at me and goes, "You're a nerd too."
You're a nerd too. I felt so bad for Ben. I will say this: when we got to the round table, he couldn't have been nicer and more respectful.
Oh, yeah.
He did not call you any names.
No, he did not.
Round table.
He did not.
We got him. You got him. Get him worked up. And holy cow!
I think 154 though is almost like you're not changing it because it always used to be 154. We're still comparing 162 game seasons to the 154 game seasons they played before. What was it, 1960s when they changed it?
It was like people being pissed about the shift. It's like there was no shift like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
We're just going back to what it really was.
And the pitch clock actually goes back to basically how the game felt when I was growing up watching it and the pacing of the game.
Goose agreed
he
with
actually
the pitch
agreed
clock.
with the pitch
well,
clock.
we needed it.
We used to pitch that way.
We used to pitch that way. I mean,
I can see him pointing.
I was dead. I mean, I was in my coffin yesterday with that.
So good.
I was way more comfortable than he was. He was sitting there fighting through. I was in a turtle shell, man. I couldn't believe it.
He knew you were going to protect him.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, we've talked a lot about the new school versus the old school, and we've talked a lot about the changes in the game. Did you like the pitch clock? Do you like some of the changes that they made to baseball?
I have. The only what was there? The stolen base is the only thing I think is a little bit of a gray area. Only being able to utilize a pickoff twice before they can have the freedom to go is something that I think is a little skewed. I have no problem with the pitch clock. I have no problem with going back to no shift. Because, I mean, you guys know where the ball's going, and if they just pound you in, you're going to have a hard time, unless you're T. Gwynn, having a hard time hitting the ball inside out and go the other way. Just matter of fact. So, but the one thing I have is from a stolen base standpoint, I would like to see, the ability to pick over. If the guy just picks over 5 times, then okay,
pretty brutal
then
when it happens.
That's brutal. We know what we're doing there. We're stalling for some, or we're just trying to,
Keep them
ruin
close.
the game to a degree. But to just only be able to disengage twice, they've talked about the pitch clock being reduced again. I think it was enough. The game speeds up to the point where I think it gets uncomfortable.
I agree. And do you give any credibility? And I know there's numbers, I think, to back it up too, but I think there are guys that benefited and I think there are guys that didn't. And I thought Blake Snell, and I said it before the season, I think he's going to benefit tremendously from it. And he didn't to start, and he said, I hate it. Well, then you saw how it turned out for him. I think Alek Manoah, a bigger guy, rushing. I think it really messed with him. And I think the adaptation that players are now having to do every single year makes this very difficult game even harder.
Yeah, it's something they have to navigate for sure. And, you see guys will take their time out early. You'll see them take their time out. And
Soto
he
really
knew when he wanted to,
yeah.
And, Trent would stay outside of the box until it got to 12 and would step in. So he'd learn to make it a routine, but it's something that they all had to try and get used to. It wasn't easy. I think they did a nice job in a fast situation to get ready for it. Minor league guys, they've been doing it for, years. They've implemented it, but, it's something that you don't want to force feed too many things. But going back to the 154, I don't think that would be. You're talking about 2 homestands.
Before you go, Trevor, I've got one thing I did want to ask you. And since you manned the 9th inning for the Padres, there's really been a string of just all-star closers, one after another. Heath Bell's here, Josh Hader last season, in between. I mean, Kimbrel, Houston Street, Mark Melancon had a great year. Padres have been blessed in the 9th inning for 30 years. Mike Schultz has kind of said that going into this year, It may be. I don't think you use the term necessarily closer by committee, but there
gives me shivers.
They've got Robert Suarez coming back, 2 new pitchers from Asia who have experience in the 9th inning, but some are lefty, some are righty. That matchups may determine more of that. I wanted to get your thought on whether it's necessary or not to actually name a closer for the 9th inning in the modern day of baseball.
It might not be needed to be named in spring training or coming out, but I think the dust settles, you have somebody that you get used to back there. It allows you to set everything else up, settle into their roles, and there's comfortability and knowing where you're going to be at. So that's just how I've seen bullpens work, is when everyone has an idea of their role, everyone kind of settles in. But to do the by committee, you're on pins and needles for the 3 hours that you're sitting out there waiting to see if the phone rings and who's it going to be.
Even if for instance, you got a bunch of lefties coming up if you got your closer as your lefty, but all the good lefties are coming up in the 8th inning. Take playoffs 2 years ago, Bryce Harper. Do you want a hater out there, a lefty, as opposed to a righty, because he's the closer and you're saving him for the 9th inning? There's a disconnect between what the analytics, the numbers say, and what the guys with the feel for baseball will say about roles and comfortability.
Very unique situation. Yeah. Probably would have loved to have seen Josh in that role in that situation. But as a closer, you should be good enough to be able to get righties and lefties out and have something in your arsenal that you can be equally as effective.
Good changeup works.
Yeah, that works on a good lefty, and it's a good changeup's good on a righty too. Yeah. Like they're not used to that.
Legend.
Trevor, thank you so much.
Thank you,
great
buddy.
to see you out here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
you again as we get closer to the season. Trevor Hoffman, Hall of Famer, sitting down with us. It's just been one after another this morning at Fantasy Camp. Absolutely incredible. Take a break. We'll check traffic. We'll be right back. See who else is kicking around. I know games are going to be started. People are starting to warm up here as well. It's Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. what's going on, but he needs a little treatment. He's got the Theragun going on his back. Starting to feel it as fantasy camp gets down to the second to last day. We've got one more show here tomorrow morning, and then we'll head back to San Diego, be home back in studio on Monday. Yeah, you can Theragun me while I do this segment. We're going to give away some tickets, college basketball tickets here in just a second. UCSD and Hawaii on Saturday. They have a big game actually tonight. I think they're at UC Irvine. It's the two undefeated teams in the Big West going after first place. And speaking of first place, your Aztecs are back into first place, tied for first place in the Mountain West after their win 71-59 last night over Nevada. Did make it back from explicit in time to watch the end of the first half and all of the second half. So I didn't actually see the Aztecs build up most of their 16-point lead that they had in the first half, and they were up 14 at halftime. I did, however, see Nevada come all the way back, get hot from three-point range, and tie the score and start to think, this could be a problematic loss for San Diego State. We talked yesterday about how you got to hold home serve in the Mountain West. And it's so tough to win on the road that you can't be dropping games at home against opponents, even good ones like Nevada. But the Aztecs dug deep, went on a bit of a run late in the game when Blackshear got his fourth foul and came out for a couple of minutes, and probably a mistake by Steve Alford to take him out at that point. Aztecs went up, I think, by 8, and then it was too late for them to come back. They closed out the win by 12, which is a double-digit win over a top 30 opponent at home, which is quad 1, or at least on the edge of a quad 1 win for San Diego State last night. They're now 4-1 in the Mountain West, tied with Utah State atop the standings, and they got another big one on the road coming up on Saturday, another nationally televised CBS game. Hopefully it goes better than the one at New Mexico this past week when they visit Boise State in a morning start on Saturday afternoon. Jaden Ledee, another double-double. The guy is amazing. And to be fair, the Aztecs got the calls they didn't get at New Mexico. And for the Aztecs to win, they need, when Jaden Ledee goes to the basket and gets hammered, they need him to get those foul calls, and they did. Steve Alford was complaining a little bit after the game. Hey, they went to the line twice as much as we did, which was true. And, I'll be fair about it. I complained about the officiating. They had a better officiating crew, I think, for that game. So, the Aztecs got the foul calls that they didn't get in the game before. They converted enough, and the offensive rebounding was fantastic. 20 offensive boards, the absolute difference in the game yesterday. The Aztecs just outworked Nevada under the glass, even though they weren't shooting that well. They had some turnovers. It wasn't a particularly pretty performance by San Diego State. It was simply, we're going to be tougher than you. We're bigger than you. We're going to use our bodies inside, and we're going to will ourselves to a victory. And they did just that in a game that they kind of had to have. You don't want to lose 2 in a row in that conference, and then you're behind the 8 ball probably for the rest of the season trying to make up home loss and try to figure out how you can win more games on the road. So good win, big win by the Aztecs last night. And they did it without Darion Trammell, who was sick. And they sent him home. He was not able to go. So even without some depth, they were able to get that victory last night. Again, they'll be at Boise State on Saturday. All right, we do have those tickets to give away to UCSD. They are going to play on Saturday at Lion Tree Arena against the University of Hawaii.
Your thoughts on the Aztecs
Welcome
game last
back
night?
from the training room, by the way. You missed all the Aztecs talk, which I know you were looking forward to all morning. You said when we got up this morning, I saw you, I came down the stairs like 5:45 Arizona time, and you said, I can't wait to talk Aztecs with you this morning. It's what I'm looking forward to more than anything else.
I don't appreciate your sarcasm. I knew you had it covered, and as I said, I had probably one too many last night, so I hit the sack, and I saw a lot of reaction on Twitter, Ben, people saying, yourself included, they were getting the calls that they missed the last game.
It's amazing how much a home crowd does help, and it influences the officials in a game. Should it be that way? Probably not.
You can see how you can get caught up in it.
It's human nature. I mean, there's a positive reinforcement effect that even officials aren't immune to.
Yep.
And you got a crowd, and you blow your whistle, and they go crazy for you. It's like you think they're cheering for you,
100%,
and you're really not. That's not the way it's supposed to work. But it's just unavoidable, I think, especially in these big time college basketball environment. So yeah, they got the calls, and if I'm going to complain about calls, as I did on Monday or Tuesday after the loss to New Mexico, I've got to acknowledge when they go the other way, and they went the other way for San Diego State last night.
Well, as Dave Roberts likes to say, Ben, you do a great job.
About what?
You do a great job.
Thanks, I appreciate
you
that.
do a great job.
As Ben, you do a great job.
As Ben,
you're a nerd.
Ben, you're a nerd.
You can call now, though. Win that pair of tickets to Saturday's UCSD Hawaii basketball game at Lion Tree Arena. Third caller wins 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. You can get your tickets at UCSDTritons.com. And good luck as they go for first place tonight against the UC Irvine nickname Woods.
UC
the weird one.
Irvine. It's not the Banana Slug.
No, that's the Santa Cruz.
Not Santa Cruz. It's the UC Irvine crap.
Anteaters.
Anteaters.
Anteaters. We were going to be here all day. So
Yeah,
we needed to move on.
I would have never guessed.
All right.
The Delilahs.
Could the Padres be in the market?
Your favorite team.
For Dylan Cease, pitcher from the White Sox. Our friend Jordan Schusterman had a little piece about that. We were going to get to that coming up next.
No. I don't want these.
Thank you, Tom
La. What? Oh, they have
not
overall?
bad overall stats. I'm looking at them right now. I will share the fantasy camp stat sheets.
I don't want this
when we come back as well.
La,
Here.
la, la,
Better
la,
Woods
la,
on
la, la, la.
97.3 The Fan.
But I need some out on the diamond today, Benny.
Yeah, your numbers could use a little punch up here.
Yeah.
I was just Tom Seiler just handed me the fantasy camp batting statistics, and the good news is
nowhere to go but up.
That the camp leader in OPS was in fact at our table last night at Explicit, but it wasn't you. You're at 899, right at 900. I mean, that's all-star level.
OPS?
That's an OPS of 900. That's going to get you to the all-star game. That's a huge number.
Is that this year?
That's this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Paulie Reindl, 1192 OPS. I mean, that's Tatis or Machado on a hot streak.
No
that
doubt.
is serious OPS action from Paul Reindl, but he isn't the leader either. The overall camp leader in OPS is our friend from Australia, Steve.
He's a player.
2,052.
Dude's a player.
That's an on-base percentage of 909. So he's gotten on base pretty much every time but once. And a slugging percentage of over 1,143. So,
well, that's why I try to surround myself with winners to maybe get a little bit of something off them. So far, not so good, but yeah, we got a couple more games to prove myself.
It's amazing that Paulie's team has struggled so much, given that they got two of the offensive leaders in the lineup, in himself and Steve from Australia. What's going on, Paulie?
We're losing close ball games.
Yeah,
I mean, yesterday was just brutal.
Double play to end it. Hard line drive up, pitcher catches it, runs it over to first base, hit and run, and game over.
Yep.
But yeah,
tough.
You can just stop there. I think it's probably all right.
Go on if you want.
I mean, you got 3 runs batted in. You got 3 hits, which is nice. 333 batting average.
Me?
I mean, you're like Tony Gwynn. Yeah,
I don't remember getting 3
3
hits,
for
but I'll
9.
take it. I will absolutely take it.
Yeah, you've walked twice,
Yep.
so you've gotten on base, and you'll be glad to know that they did not include a strikeout column there. So
Okay,
you're off the hook there
Good.
on the stats.
Good.
I'm sure that GMs are pouring over stat sheets and production from last year as they go through trade talks, and I want to talk about one in particular that could involve the San Diego Padres. We'll do that right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Still a few challenges on our roads. Crash has been moved over to the right shoulder westbound 8 before Severn, but now West 8 at the South 5 connector near Rosecrans off-ramp. There is a collision. Looks like several vehicles involved. Does not appear to be blocking lanes. Traveling on the northbound 805 before Claremont Mesa Boulevard, accident with clearing stage over the right shoulder. We've had a number of problems in the North County. Now a crash on southbound 15 before Gopher Canyon. 2 cars involved there in the center divide. South 5 coastline before Tamarack, accident over the right shoulder. And in San Marcos, a traffic alert for a major injury accident. This is South Mission Road between San Marcos Boulevard and Los Posas. You want to avoid the area. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Woods, we've been talking about it for a while. Padres have addressed some of their pitching needs with the Juan Soto trade, but certainly anyone we talk to, inside or outside the organization, they all think the Padres probably need at least one more starter.
I keep hearing 2. 2 has been kind of the
maybe,
number.
but at least one, and preferably one that's going to be able to eat some innings, quality. It doesn't have to necessarily be a Cy Young ace, but someone who you can count on.
We got
for more than just, hey, he'll compete for a spot in the rotation.
We got to make up some innings. We really do after the 800 or so that we lost.
And the ones that are available in free agency right now, like Blake Snell, are going to be incredibly expensive. And there aren't that many trade candidates at the moment. One that the White Sox have even been open about that is potentially on the trade block is Dylan Cease. Now, they're not rushing to trade him. Doesn't have to happen during this offseason. It could be spring training. It could be once the season's already started. How
many years of control does he have left?
He's got, I believe, 2 or 3 more years of control left. So his price tag in terms of a trade is going to be pretty high. And our friend Jordan Schusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue and Fox Sports put a piece up on the Fox Sports website about teams that could potentially be in play for Dylan Cease and how far they'd be willing to go in terms of prospects that they could give up that would entice the White Sox to part with Dylan Cease. And the 6 teams that he listed were the Baltimore Orioles. You've got the Boston Red Sox, the LA Dodgers, of course, they're in on everything, the New York Yankees, the Texas Rangers, and the San Diego Padres. And he wrote about the untouchables for the Padres. Tell me if you agree or disagree with Jordan's perspective. But he starts with Ethan Salas.
Agreed.
He's untouchable. Just named the number 9 prospect in baseball yesterday by Baseball America.
Agreed.
And he thinks there's almost no deal out there that you could propose that A.J. Preller would include Ethan Salas in right now. He also says he's not as certain that Jackson Merrill, who is another top 15, 20 type prospect in baseball, is completely untouchable. But for now, I'm putting him off limits as well. So he left it open, though, for guys like Nathan Martorella, Graham Pauley, Jacob Marcy, and maybe even one of the pitching arms, a Snelling or a Lesko, although he does say it's possible that a guy like Snelling, after the season he had, he may be on that untouchable list as well. Who for you, Woods, are the untouchables in the Padres minor league system? Is there such a thing as an untouchable in a minor league system when they haven't proven themselves yet on the big league level?
It's a very difficult question. Maybe I'm now Colonel Budget, because there's, based on the things that I've heard about all of those guys, Ben, if I thought Dylan Cease was the final piece, I'm more apt to pull the trigger. I don't think Dylan Cease is the final piece, and that rhymes very well. Dylan Cease, not the final piece. If he was, do what you got to do. Other than maybe Salas, because he's such a fascinating prospect, and that catching drill, I think, sold me on him for the rest of my life. Can he hit at the big league level? Remains to be seen. Can any of these guys? But Dylan Cease is not going, in my opinion, to put this team over the top to go out and win a World Series. He's going to help, certainly, and you'd have him for a couple of years. Out of the guys you named, I've heard such good things about all of those guys, and I think Jackson Merrill's probably, wouldn't you say he's probably the closest to
the big league level?
Big league level.
Yeah, I mean,
and if he can hit, I don't know what position they're going to end up, keeping him at or trying him out for at the big league level. Man, if he can hit and he helped his team win games this year, I'd kind of be excited to see that.
So it's a two years, this year and one more year.
Okay.
That Dylan Cease would be under arbitration control, and he's got an $8 million salary number for this year, so very reasonable for what he's now. He had a bit of a down season for him last year, but he's potentially a top of the rotation type arm. When I look at the minor leagues, I think there's an instant tendency to make a guy like a Marcy, who kind of burst onto the scene last year, or a Martorella or a Pauley even. You feel like as a fan, we didn't even have our expectations about those guys a year ago, so I'm more okay letting those guys go. Whereas the guys who you drafted or signed internationally and were hyped right from the start, you hold on to those guys a little tighter. There's no difference, though. A prospect is a prospect. Sure. Just because Drew Thorpe just got here, doesn't mean he's any less or more valuable than the guys that you already had in your system. You're simply more emotionally connected to a Jackson Merrill because you've been following him for longer, or an Ethan Salas because he was young and he's a cool story. But a prospect is however you acquired them, whether it was in trade, draft, international signing, weren't a prospect if they were a 50th rounder, but they have performed in the minor leagues and have turned themselves into a top prospect. You have to evaluate them all fairly. And I have that same thing. Like, well, Marcy, I'm very excited about him, but I mean, he wasn't even a prospect a year ago. You could probably trade him for a Dylan Cease, but is that wrong? Should you be putting more stock in the guys who have actually done it on the minor league level? Like their rocket's been going upwards. They've shown you that they're on that trajectory, as opposed to the guys who have all the tools and you're dreaming on. But I mean, Ethan Salas had a nice few months, but he's
tailed off,
17 years old,
and also tailed off.
And you don't really know a lot about him at this point. And it's weird because I know I do it, and I'm sure other fans do it too. Well, if you had to give up Graham Pauley, I don't even really know that much about him. I'm okay with that. You can't simply just say that if you're A.J. Preller and running the baseball team. You can't get emotionally attached to certain prospects over others.
And it's such a copycat league. And when you saw what the Diamondbacks did last year, and you saw what the Texas Rangers did last year, and you've seen what the Dodgers have been able to do, bringing guys up, there is something that you look at in that and you go, okay, maybe the way that we did it, and the way, by the way, I'll fully admit it, the way I champion for prospects are prospects, flags fly forever, I do still believe that. That being said, watching how those teams have built from within, knowing where we are at as an organization, knowing the financial potential constraints, Ben, I'm probably more apt to hang on to those guys and see what we have.
Now, I agree with you when you say Cease isn't the final piece. I think that's the smart, logical part of your brain. But if the Padres did happen to have a good, surprising season and were contenders,
ask me in July.
He actually could be exactly what they need to put him over the top.
Ask me this question. Oh, careful. Ask me this question in July, and we'll see. What my answer is then. If they're running through it and they're playing hard and playing together as a team,
and maybe you can wait until the trade deadline. Maybe the White Sox will be patient, and you can make that decision then. But you also could miss out. They could trade him in the next couple of weeks to someone else, and you won't have that opportunity again.
But there will be others. There are other Dylan Ceases out there. And teams will be out of it. They will be looking to move pieces. There are teams that are replete with pitchers, and it really depends on your need too, what you need in July if you're in it. So I'm good standing pat right now. I would like to see then the roster get a little bit more full with some guys that could be potential stopgaps at least till some of these guys are ready.
Our live broadcast from Padres Fantasy Camp are brought to you by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy. I just got incredibly self-conscious just a second ago.
Wow.
Well, we were having a good discussion about possibly trading Padres prospects, and I just realized there's a chance one of them will walk around the corner
eavesdropping
as we're talking about them. And I just thought about that. Like,
we love them all.
What if I just said, no, let's trade Jackson Merrill, and Jackson Merrill just walks right around the corner as we're discussing him, and all of a sudden I go, I can't have this conversation.
Who cares about
right
Jackson
here?
Merrill?
Right. Hey, listen, Jackson Merrill.
Who the fudge is Jackson
Merrill knows. He knows. He reads Twitter. He's on Twitter. He hears it. He hears it. I mean, all these guys. This is the business that they are in, and they know they are only as good. I mean, they could be traded today. Honestly, I think everyone here knows.
So, just if any of the Padres prospects are eavesdropping around the corners, nothing personal as we discuss potential trades.
We would never
say
trade Jackson Merrill or as he walks literally right by us.
That's not it.
That wasn't it. That's okay.
Yeah.
He could be very.
They look alike.
They all. Yeah. There's a lot of prospects around, and we don't know most of them, obviously. I mean, you have to be an absolute scholar of prospects to just nail every single one of them. Yeah.
Whoa.
Trying to goes to a strip club one
time.
He just turns into an absolute
just a pervert.
deviant.
Just a deviant pervert is what he is. Oof. You got it really uncomfortable in here.
A little bit. Well, it happens when I'm self-conscious now, and they're doing something in the clubhouse right now. And
Trevor Hoffman's being officially introduced to the whole camp. They're having a clubhouse meeting. They did a moment of silence for Peter Seidler with everybody. Hoffy got up there and he goes, "I'm noticing all the mustaches. I love it." He's like, "I'm just assuming that's in honor of Peter." And then Randy cut him off and said, "Let's do a 30-second moment of silence." It lasted about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Because Randy has no patience.
No patience whatsoever. I think he's over it at this point. But no, man, these are all interesting discussions. But I do get the sense that AJ is just trying to be patient right now, waiting for the market to come down a little bit on potentially a couple of outfielders. But yeah, I'm interested to see I'm so interested to see what this team looks like on opening day.
All right. Speaking of interesting discussions on a completely different topic, we mentioned it this morning. The Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones deciding to bring Mike McCarthy back as head coach. Stability over overreaction for one playoff loss, or is this the time when you want your owner to just kind of go, we got to do something else. We can't go down this road again.
I got to tell you, I am beyond shocked. Beyond having grown up in that area, knowing how Jerry Jones operates and has operated, I am shocked that Mike McCarthy isn't packing his bags or hasn't already packed his bags when the names that are out there are out there.
Yeah.
It's not like there's some hot coordinator, from the Lions that a lot of teams are interested in. These are some of the biggest names in football history.
They're like, I guess we can promote from within.
Right. Yeah. I am shocked. And every day in this job, I get more shocked.
Are you, since Bill Parcells held the job, though, from 2003 to 2006, it's not like Jerry has gone out.
He's not Steinbrenner
for top names.
Right.
I mean, it's Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, and Mike McCarthy. And he showed a great deal of loyalty to Jason Garrett.
He really did.
Without really ever seeing the return on that. There were many years where Cowboys fans thought, this has got to be it for Garrett. It's got to be it for Garrett. He was comfortable with Garrett. Now it looks like he's comfortable with McCarthy.
And but again, how many times was Pete Carroll available? How many times was Bill Belichick available? How many times was Mike Vrabel available? How many times was Jim Harbaugh available? That's the thing.
You can make the argument that, hey, that was about as good of a regular season as the Cowboys have had. They haven't lost a home game in the regular season in 2 years.
You underestimated the Packers. It
was one game, and why would you fire your coach? You go with continuity. Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. So he's done it before. I wonder, though, is Mike McCarthy's Super Bowl win with the Green Bay Packers proof that Mike McCarthy is a Super Bowl caliber coach, or is it proof that you can win a Super Bowl without a Super Bowl caliber coach? Because I tend to think the latter rather than the former.
Of course.
Just because a head coach wins a Super Bowl or wins a World Series does not necessarily make that person a brilliant coach or leader. There have been many bad coaches, bad managers in all sports who have lucked their way into a title because they had such a talented team. They had veterans who didn't need much direction. They had good assistants with X's and O's, and they didn't mess it up. I mean, at some point, you can say, well, they didn't mess it up when they stepped in. Did Mike McCarthy just not mess it up on a really good Green Bay Packers team
with a great quarterback?
With a great quarterback that was hot at the right time. And by the way, messed it up plenty of other years when he was there that they didn't get it done.
Yeah,
you can say he underachieved with just one Super Bowl title with the Green Bay Packers.
I was going to say he's one of those guys that you feel like should have won at least 2, probably even 3. With having Aaron Rodgers in his prime. But yeah, I'm shocked. I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure that loss, and not only was it a loss, it was a drubbing. I thought Jerry was going to be embarrassed. I thought he was going to pull the quick trigger. Hey, maybe he's softened a little bit in his old age, but like you said, he's been fairly patient with a lot of these guys.
Or maybe he called Bill Belichick and Belichick said, "Yeah, I'd love to, but you're not having any say in personnel anymore."
And he said, "Yeah, we don't know. We don't know how many calls were made behind the scenes."
And Jerry's just like, "Yeah, I'm not going down that road." Yeah. Mike McCarthy, I can tell him whatever I want, do whatever I want.
Do what I want.
We're keeping him as our head coach going into next season.
100%.
All right, if you love NFL playoff football, we've got more of it for you. Westwood One carries all the games on 97.3 The Fan. We got the Texans, Ravens, Packers 49ers on doubleheader on Saturday. Bucks, Lions, followed by the Chiefs and Bills on Sunday. It's also on the Odyssey app. We'll come back. 1 hour to go. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back. Final hour of Ben and Woods on a Thursday. We're live at Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria, Arizona. I noticed yesterday as I was out in the parking lot that they've already replaced the Bob Melvin parking spot sign with a Mike Schilt parking spot sign. Taking care of those little details before spring training gets underway in a couple of weeks. That spot was empty, but 2 spots over, there was a car parked in the spot reserved for general manager A.J. Preller. And I didn't know if either AJ was in the building
I've not seen him.
I haven't either.
If someone was parked in his spot yesterday, which is a bold move. I mean,
if you know he's not going to be here, if you know he's in, somewhere else.
Honestly, if I know I've got a parking spot somewhere, even if I'm not going to be there, I want it to be open.
That's very stingy.
If it's there for me at any time I need it.
Most Ben Higgins thing I've ever heard.
It really is, because my theory is, if you know I'm out of town, feel free. You can use my headphones, whatever you want.
At Goat Hill, there's a special parking spot that goes to the club champion every single year. You don't park in it, even if you know. I think Tim Chavez is the reigning champ. Even if you know he's out of town, you don't park in his spot. It's got to remain open. It's a parking spot. It's a personal parking spot. It's a perk of the job. You rise to the level of general manager, president of baseball operations of the Padres.
Yeah.
Your parking spot is there. And unless you
Hold on, Zach, is AJ here? He's not here.
Someone was in his parking spot yesterday. Yeah.
We'll have him towed. Okay, Zach said we'll have him towed. All right, good. That was so quick. We'll have him towed. It's got to be a camper. I mean, there's no question it was a camper.
I mean, it wasn't a great car. It looked like maybe a rental or something.
Yeah.
It was a sensible sedan.
It had to be a camper
of some sort. But I was surprised to see a car in AJ's spot, because I haven't seen him in the building, and I would have been a little bit hurt if he was here and didn't at least come and say hello to all of us.
He's not responded to my last 3 texts, so it wouldn't really surprise me at all.
Busy man.
He is busy.
At least we hope he's a busy man.
Hopefully. I think so. I hope. Yeah, you're right. I hope he's working the phones.
All right, Paulie's been working some headlines. Let's get to a Rindle report before you guys got to go and play a game again today, and get things started here with our today's edition of the Rindle report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Rindle Report with Paul Rindle.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Rindle Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Paulie.
We will start off in the NFL, getting ready for the divisional round of the playoffs. And I saw this. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was a pretty cool move by the New York Jets. They released their running back, Dalvin Cook.
Yes.
Because they knew their season was over. They released him before their season finale, which was the deadline for him to sign with a team that had aspirations of making the playoffs or anything like that. He just signed with the Baltimore Ravens, and I would say that's a pretty good squad to jump on board with.
I already did. I did. I thought you meant for gamblers.
No.
3 weeks
Dalvin
ago.
Cook.
Yeah.
You look at the teams remaining. I would say they're one of the heavy favorites. It's a good landing spot to find, and I like that the Jets didn't make him have to miss the playoffs. He was only going to be there for the end of the year. Yeah. They're like, what does it matter to us? It's a nice move.
If you're the Ravens, you had a great regular season, number 1 seed, obviously. How much of Dalvin Cook do you try to work into the game plan for this game against the Texans?
I mean, a nice change of pace. Give a guy a breather.
I would say let's focus on 3 or 4 plays.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking maybe 5, 6, 7 carries. Something like that.
Yeah, and you don't have to learn the entire playbook.
Yeah,
let's just get a couple. You practice. Let's just get a couple of them down. A third down.
But you got to be ready. You got to be ready in case somebody goes down.
Yeah, you'll be ready for it. But he's not going to be essential part of the game plan. Would be my guess.
Mark that clip, Frankie, because the way our football predictions have been going lately, Dalvin Cook goes off for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Make sure we get our picks in early tomorrow because you guys are going to go and play. Well, we got We made them last week.
Yeah, we got to finish the game
because
it's for $20, and I'm in the lead. So we
2-point round, the divisional round of the playoffs.
I got to make
weekend.
up some of that strip club money last night. If I'm being honest, so I need to take you guys down. Sorry, babe.
Well, you won't be able to place a bet on the next Warriors game. We talked about it yesterday. Their game was suspended last night, or postponed, I should say, because one of their assistant coaches had a heart attack, and the story, unfortunately, got much worse. He passed away.
No.
At just 46 years old. The assistant coach, Dejan Milojevic, passed away.
Milojevic.
And
Milojevic.
they have at least postponed the Warriors' next game while they sort this out and grieve and all of that. But I saw that and I go, wait, we talked about this yesterday when you went out for photo day. Ben brought it up, and I go, we just thought it was a medical thing. We didn't know that he had actually passed away. I saw that headline this morning.
Steve Kerr said, "We are absolutely devastated by Dejan's sudden passing. This is shocking and tragic blow for everyone associated with the Warriors, an incredibly difficult time for his family, friends, and all of us who had the incredible pleasure to work with him." I guess he was a star playing in Europe during his playing career, and then came over. But he's close with, Doncic and some of the other Serbian players as well. Man. So, this is a really sad story. So,
Golden State rookie Brandon Podzinski, he wrote, "You changed my life in such a short time. The most important thing you ever told me was just smile. Your joy and laughs will be forever missed. Shine down on us from heaven."
Sad, dude.
Yeah.
Very, very sad. All right, now I'm bummed out.
Yeah. Oh, finally. There's no transition there, so
I'm not going to try.
We're just going to go through it here. This is interesting. I love biopic movies.
Me too. I know where you're going.
I'm very fascinated with them. They are always some of my favorite.
Pronounced biopic.
Biopic.
Yeah. I've heard. I swear to God, I've heard people say biopic.
I think it's biopic.
I've
always biographical picture. A biopic.
And we got a new biopic set to come out about fitness icon Richard Simmons.
Oh, I thought you were going the other way. Did you see the other one coming out?
Let's do both.
All right, we'll do both.
I want to start
Richard Simmons.
Playing Richard Simmons will be Pauly Shore.
That is fascinating.
And I think that's interesting. But then it gets more interesting and a little conflicting because I want to support how everybody feels about this. Richard Simmons does not want this movie to be made.
Oh, no, really?
He is very against it. He does not want Pauly Shore to play him. He did not give his blessing.
Damn.
Well, he did not approve of this, but I guess they can make a movie about whatever and whoever they want. So they're not
unauthorized.
They're not in the wrong, but wouldn't you feel a little uncomfortable doing that, knowing he has no interest in this being made?
This happened with one of my favorite little mini series that they did. I think it was on FX. It was Pam and Tommy.
Yep.
And Pamela Anderson was vehemently against it. Now,
it changed how I felt about the show.
And I didn't know until it was over that she would. I don't think I knew until it was over how against it she was. And then it made me really sad because look, these people are still alive. They're still a part of society. And they're just going to take liberties and do whatever they want.
But you loved Winning Time. And the Lakers
loved it.
Hated Winning Time.
I know they
did not like it. They didn't like the portrayal. I thought it was a phenomenal show.
And I do wonder. I know Jerry West was, and I guess my whole take on that thing when it happened was I go, Jerry, in my mind, I would have had a conversation. Jerry, you were amazing at it. It may not have been exactly you were, but your character was the best character in it. Is there a way to roll with the punches a little bit because it is just so fantastic? Or would you be so, nobody likes to get painted with a different brush.
Uncomfortable with the portrayal. Yeah. I mean, people don't always understand that this is a fictionalization or a dramatization of, not entirely real life events.
Yeah, it's entertainment.
But, I think all is said. That really wasn't me. You kind of laughing at it. It really wasn't like that, but didn't that guy do a great job? Playing me in the show. I feel like you roll with a little bit more, especially when it's a quality production.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Pam and Tommy one because that was the one I was trying to remember. Yeah. And I was like, I loved the show, and then I saw that all after the fact, and I go, that kind of changes things for me. And Richard Simmons, he's pretty off the grid.
He's private.
He wants his privacy. He does not do a whole lot of social media, but he did come out this week and he said, "Hi, everybody. You may have heard they may be doing a movie about me with Pauly Shore. I have never given my permission for this movie, so don't believe everything you read. I no longer have a manager. I no longer have a publicist. I just try to live a quiet life and be peaceful. Thank you for all your love and support. And I go, man, I feel bad now.
That's a bummer. Yeah, that's a bummer. The one I was talking about, too, I saw it drop last night. They're making one of the best musical bios that I've ever read is called Scar Tissue, and it's about Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's his autobiography. Now, I like probably a dozen Chili Pepper songs. I'm not the world's biggest fan. The book was riveting. I read it in 2 days. It is fascinating, the life that man has lived. And they're making a movie about that called Scar Tissue. I thought that's where you were going, Paulie.
No,
and I'm really interested to see, who plays Anthony Kiedis, who plays Flea, who plays John, who plays Chad. You can just get Will Ferrell right in for Chad Smith. He could absolutely pull that off. They've done that bit before. But that's one that I am counting the days for because, again, one of the best musical bios you will ever read. You don't even have to like the band. It's just a really, really brilliant book.
Do you have time for a quick game of Has Been Ever?
Yes.
All right. The question is, has been ever seen a Pauly Shore movie?
I'm going to say yes, and I know which one.
I was looking through the list here.
I know exactly which one.
So,
Encino Man.
100%.
First one I have not seen Encino Man, though.
You are full of it.
I have not.
Son-in-law
I have not seen.
Brilliant.
Biodome, definitely not. In the Army Now?
Nope.
No, I have not
Goofy
seen that
movie? No.
Pauly Shore is dead. Is 2003. The Curse of the Inferno. He's not dead.
No.
I'm
worry
very
about
concerned.
it. Mark Grant
No, he's
just
playing Richard
stopped in
Simmons
his
in a new
tracks.
movie.
Your comedic hero, Pauly Shore, is still very much alive.
I really don't think I've seen any of these movies.
So Encino Man is great. It's great.
It's so good.
Son-in-law is hysterical. There's so many funny parts in that.
He's the Encino Man's like the Geico caveman.
Yeah,
it's
and Brendan Fraser. Fraser. No. Fraser.
Does Pauly Shore play the caveman, or does Brendan Fraser plays the caveman?
Brendan Fraser.
Fraser.
Brett Favre. Fraser plays the caveman. It's really. I mean, it's terrible, but it's really good. Does that make sense? It's a good bad movie. It's like Roadhouse. Have you ever seen Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze?
I've never seen Roadhouse.
We might need to watch that tonight. I think it's on Netflix. We may need to do a little movie night in the house if I can keep you out of explicit tonight with your free cover and Kettle One specials.
Is Delilah working tonight?
I don't know. I do not know.
Didn't ask her.
Didn't ask if she was on the clock tonight.
All right, Pauly, thank you. Pauly Shore, Pauly Reindl, with the good Reindl report. And one of the perks here is that we're sitting right outside the clubhouse, and there's cold brew nitro coffee on tap. A little pick-me-up for the last couple of segments of the show, because I probably need it. After last night, it's finally hitting me.
Yes,
you know what that coffee is? It was the brand that Heath Bell started.
That's right. What was it called? It's
Seven
good.
Brew.
It's very good. Nitro cold brew. So a little energy pick-me-up, because you guys are going out to play a game.
Oh, boy.
So I'm going to invite...
Playing each other.
Oh, yeah, we play each other today.
We got head to head
on the big field.
Baseball action on field 1 right outside the door here between Paul and Woods, and that starts in like 15 minutes. So I'm going to invite, if anyone wants to play Real or Fake, it's Throwback Thursday. We can qualify. Listener, it's 1984 theme this week, so we're going to do it again today. 833-288-0973 if you want to get online right now. We'll come back and try to qualify one of our listeners for a trip for 2 to Las Vegas in our game of Real or Fake. That is coming up next after a check of traffic with Ben Woods at Fantasy Camp 2024, live from Peoria, Arizona, on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, I will tell you guys who would make an absolute killing out here this week, and that's my friends over at West Coast Men's Health, because all they would need to do is walk through that clubhouse, and you will see many, many men in their 40s, 50s, 60s that could probably use a little boost. If you know what I'm talking about, check out West Coast Men's Health at 619-833-6800 or go to westcoastmenshealth.com. You will learn about the acoustic wave therapy. Treats the real cause of ED. No pills, no pumps, nothing like that. The acoustic wave therapy is it's shockwave therapy, same one that they use to dissolve kidney stones, same type of technology, completely does not hurt at all. Go get the treatment. It takes about 10, 15 minutes per treatment, and the blood starts flowing again. It breaks up the plaque. Blood starts flowing. That's what you need. So call them today, 619-833-6800, or go to westcoastmenshealth.com. Also, they can help treat fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, Dupuytren's contracture, and neuropathy as well. So they can handle a lot of stuff there for you. They're really good at what they do. They're very, very kind. They will take good care of you. 2 locations, Mission Valley and Carlsbad. Call them today, 619-833-6800. It's West Coast Men's Health.
You can tune in to Kickoff with Boomer Esiason, Mike Valenti. Every week, Boomer and Valenti previewing the entire slate of NFL games. They'll make their picks. Can't do any worse than we did last week. And give you all the biggest stories from the league packed into 1 hour. Friday nights at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan and always live on the free Odyssey app. Presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. All right, Paulie and Woods have headed out to Field 1 for their game today. They're going up against each other. Annie and Elston are going to be coming by at 10 o'clock, and we may do a little crossover in just a few minutes. I got Frank Marchese. Italian Paul is back in our Odyssey studios. Good morning, Frank. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ben.
Good to hear that. And I hear we have a contestant on the line, so why don't we get to it and play a little Throwback Thursday edition of Real or Fake?
Some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. Yeah, you can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
All right, we got Christian in Santee on the line, and Christian is playing for a chance to qualify for our grand prize drawing. 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino, and tickets to Tom Kiefer at LA Guns. If you get 4 out of 7 right, we'll put you into the drawing for the concert at the International Showroom, April 3rd or April 11th, 2024. And you can check out all the newly designed premier rooms, part of the $70 million in room renovations at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Christian, good morning to you.
Good morning. How you doing, Ben?
All right, good. I can hear you. And I'll let you know. So we've been doing 1984 Padres theme week on our games. Terry Kennedy just nailed this category, as I would expect him to, because today's Real or Fake is Real or Fake 1984 Padres. Of course, a baseball team doesn't just contain legends. Today on a special edition of Real or Fake, I'm going to name a baseball player. You tell me if they were a real member of the 1984 Padres, appearing in at least one game for the squad, or a fake, never on the 1984 Padres at all. We got Randy Jones here as well. I wonder if he'll be able to remember all the 1984. You weren't on that team, but Terry Kennedy just got them all right. Christian's playing back at home. If you want to listen in, you can put on the headphones, Randy, and he can maybe even help out. So, Christian, are you ready to play?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Round number 1. You need 4 out of 7 of these correct. Real or fake 1984 Padre? Doug Goosh, real or fake 1984 Padre?
Real.
Real is correct. Nicknamed, you remember his nickname, Randy?
Negative.
Eye chart. It's spelled GWOSDZ. And Doug Goosh was a catcher, just appeared in 7 games for the 1984 team.
But I do remember him being part of the 84 team.
So that's 1 correct for Christian. All right, let's go to round number 2. Jim Umbarger. Real or fake 1984 Padre? Christian, Jim Umbarger.
Real.
Real, and the answer is fake. Do you remember Jim Umbarger? He was a lefty reliever, mostly for the Rangers in the 1970s.
How would we remember that?
How would you remember that?
Are you kidding me?
You played in the 1970s.
That's what I
Randy.
mean, man. You know how many years ago? You ever heard of
He was a pretty decent reliever back in the 70s.
Have you heard of CRS?
He was a lefty like you were? You don't remember Jim Umbarger?
Have you heard of CRS?
What's CRS?
You can't remember.
Well,
never
okay,
mind.
you can't say other way. That's
Well,
all right. All right, we got round 3. Here we go. Round number 3, Christian, Mario Ramirez. Real or fake 1984 Padre? Mario Ramirez.
Real.
Real, yes. The late Mario Ramirez was the backup to Tempe at shortstop. Appeared in 48 games. Very good, Christian. That's 2 correct.
How old are you, Christian?
I'm 30.
All right. Yeah, this is definitely
That's not bad.
In the way back machine. All right, round number 4. Floyd Schiffer. Real or fake 1984 Padre? Floyd Schiffer.
Fake.
Fake. That one is real.
Oh, man.
A reliever appeared in 15 games. It was his final season. He even made 1 start for the 1984 Padres. Last season in MLB, had a 7.71 ERA that season. So that was it for him. All right, we're at 2-2. You need 2 out of these next 3 correct to qualify for the trip to Las Vegas. Round number 5. Ron Renicky, real or fake 1984 Padre? Ron Renicky. Randy looks stumped over there, Christian.
Wow. That's a tough one.
Fake.
Ron Renicky was real.
Oh,
the future
man.
manager of the Milwaukee Brewers and Boston Red Sox. Was an outfielder who appeared in 12 games, part of his journeyman playing career.
12 games?
Went on, was a very, just in 84, just appeared in 12 games.
We're playing 162.
Well,
and you're going to remember
if
12?
I said Terry Kennedy or Tony Gwynn, this would be a real easy game. I had to pick some of the lesser-known ones. All right, Christian, you need to get these last 2 correct, or the game is going to be over for you. Here we go, round number 6. Gus Varland. Real or fake 1984 Padre? Gus Varland. Mud's giving a thumbs down the hallway. Christian, what do you say?
I'm going to go with Mud. I'll go with Mud. Let's go thumbs down, fake.
He's going to say fake, and you would be? Correct, yes. Gus Varland was a Dodger last year at a 6.64 ERA out of the bullpen for the LA Dodgers in 2023. All right, it comes down to round 7, as always. For all the marbles to qualify for the trip to Las Vegas, real or fake, 1984 Padre Christian, Eddie Miller.
Oh.
Eddie Miller, real or fake?
Goodness.
Real.
Yes!
Yeah.
Eddie Miller, another journeyman outfielder, appeared in 13 games for the 84 Padres. Christian, congratulations. Hang on the line. Frankie will get your information to put you in the drawing for the getaway to Las Vegas at the end of the month. Our first winner this week, you didn't remember. You remembered some of those guys. You remember Doug Goosh.
Well, yeah.
And Ron Renicky, of course.
But when you're telling me at 12 games, how did I forget that?
And a team, remember, it's a 40-man roster. You know, everyone's got to pull their weight and contribute. They're not all stars. You're not all Kevin McReynolds,
Ben,
Steve Garvey.
I retired in 83.
Yeah.
Now, the Padres go to the World Series.
In 84.
84.
Now, you had gone on. You played.
And all I did.
Where'd you play after the Padres?
I was the Mets.
Went to
2
the Mets,
years with
right.
the Mets. And then obviously I was out of bullets and I
Right.
had to hang it up. But, the other thing I got at 84, went to the World Series, I actually got to do the light beer from Miller commercial for
Less
the World
filling,
Series.
tastes great.
Yes.
You got to do a less filling, tastes great commercial.
I did.
This is incredible. Is this available on YouTube anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
I've never read. Bob Uecker was famous for doing some of those.
Uecker was the best, but I did that one commercial.
Which one were you? Were you less filling or taste great?
We were less filling.
You were less filling.
But we had to go to Philadelphia, and film prior.
Who else did it
Well,
with you?
Ron Sano and I were doing the national.
Oh, it was Cubs and Padres, and they had one.
And
each.
of course, by the time we left Philadelphia after filming, and we're flying back to the West Coast, Sano's got a 2-0 lead on me, right? And so I had to listen to him. He was telling me I was going to spend all that money, And so the Padres, we come back, rally, win the next 3. And all I know is we kind of celebrated after the Padres won. And the next morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings. And it's Ron Sano, just screaming at me. I stole his money. I couldn't believe it.
I got to meet him before he passed on.
What
What a great guy.
man.
What a great guy. Ron
Very
Santo, the
positive
Chicago
guy,
Cubs
but-
legend. But this revelation that Randy Jones got to do a less filling, taste great Miller Lite commercial. I was a kid, so I had never had beer in my life, but I loved those commercials.
They're the best.
Less filling.
Absolutely.
Tastes great. I don't know that either of those things are actually true about the beer, but it was a great ad campaign, wasn't it?
Now you can go on YouTube, you can find it. It's in there somewhere.
All right, we're going to take a break. I think we might have Frank's got the commercial. Frank, can we play it? Let's do it. Let's do it right. No, let's tease it. We'll come back. No one's tuning it out for the Randy Jones Less Filling Tastes Great commercial. So we'll have that when we come back, and then maybe a little crossover. Annie and Elston coming up when we return with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hey, it's Ben here. And one of the great things about my SDFatLoss.com program was, in fact, it tastes great because you get to eat your own foods, chicken, steak, things I actually liked. It wasn't bars and shakes and things that did not taste great. So that helped me stick with it. But it also was, in fact, less filling because I was losing weight up to a pound of fat per day, 10 to 20% of my body weight in 60 days. For me, I was 40 pounds in 60 days. I did that over the summer. I have kept the weight off all the way through the new year, through the holidays. I am down still over 40 pounds at this point. And if you want to join me on the journey, I would love to have you jump along. People have been asking me questions about it for months now. And all I can say is it absolutely worked for me. And I've stuck with it. Kind of changed my life. 858-665-3211. That's the number to call for a free consultation. Or just go online to sdfatloss.com. It's not one of these trendy injections, hormones, drugs. You know what happens? They may work for a little while, and then you go off of them, and you still are eating what you used to eat. You gain all the weight right back. It doesn't work forever. If you don't want to be stuck with the injections and the drugs, do it the real way. Do it a way that's sustainable. SDFatLoss.com is going to get it done for you. You just have to make the call to get it started. 858-665-3211 or go online, SDFatLoss.com. That's SDFatLoss.com.
This is Randy Jones in downtown San Diego for Light Beer from Miller. And I'm telling you, these Padres fans are really fired up. Hey, anything you fans want to tell those folks down in Detroit? Light tastes great! Light tastes great! Let's take it down to Norm Cash in Detroit. Hey, Randy, you need Tiger fans. They might have something to say about that. Light Philly! Light Philly! Tastes great! Philly! Tastes great! Philly! Tastes great!
Oh, my goodness. Oh, so that was the World Series version. So he said he did the NLCS version with Ron Santo. Randy Jones in a Miller Lite, less filling, tastes great commercial. I've known Randy for close to 30 years. Never knew he got to do one of those iconic less filling, tastes great commercials for Miller Lite back in 1984. We're celebrating 40 years of the Padres' 1984 National League Championship season here at Fantasy Camp this week, and our live broadcast from Fantasy Camp all week long, brought to you by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy. I want to get into some potential trade talk for your San Diego Padres here in our final segment. We'll get to that coming up after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Just a couple things wrapping up our morning drive. Northbound side of the 805 past 47th Street, crash over the right shoulder. And in East County, eastbound 8 before 2nd Street, an accident blocking the right lane. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So Woods and I, before we went out to the game that he's playing right now, we're talking a little bit earlier about the potential of a Dylan Cease trade package. The San Diego Padres, would they want to put together some of their prospects and go after a proven starter? It's another a name, one that's fallen even further than Dylan Cease in the American League that was brought up this morning, I believe, on MLB Network. JP Morosi mentioning the Padres as a active potential trade suitor for the Blue Jays, Alek Manoah. And obviously Manoah went from, Cy Young pitcher in the American League, one of the top pitchers in 2022, and completely fell off the map. So far off the map, in fact, that at one point the Blue Jays sent him all the way back down to like their rookie ball team in Florida to try to get things going. He was just an absolute mess. Came back for a little bit, faced the Padres actually when they went to Toronto in the middle of the season. Didn't fare that well and ended up just having a pretty miserable 2023 season. They're ready, change of scenery time. It sounds like the Blue Jays are definitely looking to make a move. There are still teams, though, that are interested in Alek Manoah. And if the Padres are one of them, that would be one of those giant reclamation project, lottery ticket type acquisitions that if you can figure out something that the Blue Jays were unable to figure out last season, and you can get Alek Manoah anywhere back near the form he was at a couple of years ago, you could have an absolute steal on your hands with multiple years of control and someone that you could put right into your starting rotation. But you also might get last year's Alek Manoah. And the question is, what's the price tag for a guy like that? I mean, I think as a fan, you think it's got to be next to nothing, right? I mean, he was horrible last year. You can't give up any good prospects for him. But the way the market is looking right now, there are 29 other teams that need pitching, and they can all dream on Alek Manoah as well. And even though Alek Manoah may not seem to have a lot of value, you have value when multiple teams are bidding on the same player, because you've got to outbid that other team. And then another team comes in and they've got to outbid the next team. And by the time, all the trade offers get sorted through, I think you're going to end up stunned at the package that the Blue Jays are able to get back for an Alek Manoah. It may not be, top flight prospects. We're not talking Ethan Salas, Jackson Merrill territory here, but it's also not going to be like a giveaway, a guy who was drafted in the 18th round last year that no one's ever heard of for Alek Manoah either. They're going to end up getting something, and the team that picks him up is going to want to make sure they get some value out of him, because they're going to give up something that they probably did like if they're going to make any trade like that. So the question for Padres fans out there is that an area that you want to see them explore as the Padres look for some additional pitching depth on the major league level here in 2024? Is Alek Manoah a player that you want to take a flyer on. Ruben Niebla and get his staff, his coaching staff, look at the film, see what they saw, and see if they'll go after them. So Woodsy was talking about it earlier. The pitch clock could have affected Alek Manoah last year. Fatigue as the season got. I mean, who knows what it was with that guy, and if anyone's going to be able to figure it out. All right, coming up right after us in just about 15 minutes, Annie and Elston will take the airwaves, and they are both joining me in studio right now back in San Diego. You guys have been killing it out there. I've loved what I've heard the first couple of weeks of the new show. It's good to have you both on for a little crossover this morning.
It's great to be here, my friend, and to maybe not be there. I don't know how much fun. It seems like you've been having enough fun that this has been a great week.
I've avoided coming out for the last few years. I always give the work excuse and let Paul and Woods have their fun when they come out here. What am I going to do? I'm sitting around here. I'm not going to play certainly baseball. I've had a really good time this week. It's a really fun atmosphere, chatting with some of the 1984 Padres who are here, hanging out with Randy Jones and Trevor Hoffman and Jake Peavy. How could you, if you're a baseball fan or you're a Padres fan like me, how can you not have a good time being around here? It really has been. I hope it sounded okay back in San Diego. I always wonder, is this fun for fans, or is this just self-indulgent for me and Woods to be out here this week?
Ben, you've had a lot of fun. You just haven't had fun. You've had a lot of, the adventures that you've taken this week, pretty legendary, I think. But no, you guys have sounded great.
I've stepped outside my comfort zone. That's
met
for
some
sure.
new friends,
That's for sure.
right? You guys have sounded great. I've loved the interviews. I enjoyed Trevor this morning. I enjoyed all the talk about the ways that the game has changed. I thought that was so interesting yesterday that there was talk of not liking the game anymore, or just that not feeling like you're connected to it. But I really love what a lot of guys were talking about with the camaraderie inside the clubhouse and how much things matter. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to listen to you guys.
Flan was great. He's just walking by. Thank you again for coming. Trevor just walked by again as well. Yeah. He says his grandkids were listening on their way to school this morning. So yeah, we're getting the message back in San Diego, which is fun. Goose Gossage yesterday was both one of the most epic interviews we've ever done, and obviously it was one of the more dicey, uncomfortable interviews we've ever done. With Goose wasn't exactly on his best behavior when it came to radio language. Frank had to, I think, go like a record 4 dump buttons in the middle of the interview to try to keep our license on the air. But and Annie, I don't know if you've ever talked to Goose. I know Craig, we've talked to him a couple of times over the years. He's definitely an opinionated baseball sort.
I have not talked to Goose, but after hearing that interview yesterday, I thought, wow, I thought, what an interesting guy to speak to, first of all, but you definitely have to have your finger on the trigger there, be very quick. I thought Randy Jones was going to be your toughest one there, because I've talked to Randy many a times, and he is not shy to let the expletives flow, which is one of the things that I love about Randy. But I see now that you've got your work cut out for you. And I also want to say, Ben, the other guys, look, Paul, Woodsy, they just leave and go play baseball, and they just say, Ben,
who's committed to this show?
I know. Someone has to be here to do all the dirty work, and I'm just cheering for them today, because I don't want, if they get relegated to like the last place game tomorrow, they leave like in the second hour of our show. So I need them to win so they get to play for like the championship or the third place game later in the day and get to stay with me for the entire Friday show tomorrow. So I've got a rooting interest in this game that's going on field 1 right outside the doors in front of me. But they're playing against each other, so it's tiebreakers are going to be involved. It's going to get very complicated. I was just talking about Alek Manoah. You got any thoughts on whether that's someone you think the Padres should pursue, and how far they should go in terms of an offer for a guy who is just coming off an absolutely miserable season last year?
Andy, didn't I trade for Alek Manoah on our show a couple days ago?
Craig did.
One of your daily trades that you've been doing, Craig?
Yes.
Craig did bring Alek Manoah here. We thought that a change of scenery could possibly do well for him. You would hope that he wouldn't have the same year that he had last year, but I heard you talking about it. Maybe that was a fluke thing. Maybe there were different factors, and he's got Ruben Niebla over here. That could be an encouraging factor for him. I don't know what you would give up, Craig. I don't remember.
I did a challenge trade, Jake Cronenworth for Alek Manoah, like my issue for your issue, and it fits for both teams. They don't have a set second baseman. Really, if you are looking at a big money team like Toronto, they could absorb a Jake Cronenworth contract pretty easily. I was kind of spitballing whether Toronto would be one of his 8 no-trade teams. Some people do automatically just check out Canada and say, I won't play in Canada.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of the
exchange
rate and everything else.
If I were the Blue Jays, I'd probably either ask for money to offset some of Jake's salary or another prospect in that deal.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds crazy. You think Alek Manoah has zero value. I promise you, with the pitching market the way it is, and the number of teams that could dream on him, it's going to be a higher price tag than you think would be possible for a guy who really looked like he was almost untouchable, not in a good way as a pitcher last season, like someone you wouldn't even want on your team, seemed to have some attitude issues as well. Why would you spend anything on that guy? But you're not getting them. I don't think you're getting them for nothing because of what he did a couple of years ago and the fact that there are other teams that'll go, we can turn this guy around and we are willing to put something toward him to make sure we get him on our roster as opposed to letting him go somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think there's an element of a bluff to that, in that Manoah's a guy that they're not sure at all they can count on in Toronto. And he did have problems with the coaching staff in the front office, and things did go wrong there. It's not as simple as saying it's this or that. It's the he was busted down to single A, and when he came back, he wasn't exactly a dominating pitcher. That's why he's a distressed asset. And distressed assets are things that you can pursue when you've got a little less to work with, especially on the financial side. There would be an element of relief in their organization if they didn't have to worry about what Alek Manoah has to offer them in 2024 for a team that's trying to compete. Now, we always use the somewhat useless baseball trade value trade simulator because it spits out future value. Right now, Alek Manoah's future value is down to 11.8, which is about the same as Dalton Varsho's, another player who came to Toronto and didn't have a great year, but still is young. So that's taken a massive dent in terms of, a year ago, it would have been a conversation, Ben, that started with Jackson Merrill, right? And like kind of worked up from there.
Absolutely.
And now it's all the way down to like, well, maybe one of those pitchers, maybe a Mazer or a Sebi Zavala could be enough on its own to get Alek Manoah. But if you were putting in a major league player for Toronto, I actually think it would just be a matter of a cash offset and you could get the job done.
Now, you could go the other way. Now, Annie, has Craig in his various daily trades ever acquired Dylan Cease yet from the Chicago White Sox?
I don't think we've done the White Sox yet. I'm trying to save it, maybe.
Ben, let me tell you something.
Saving that one?
This happens daily, and I put my head in my hands, and I weep to myself a little because, I don't, the whole hypothetical thing, it's like, if this, but it's been a great exercise to see who's still available, who might be a little bit on the block, a little bit on the fence for another team. Maybe they want to move them. But you've just given Craig an idea, Ben. He's already working on the White Sox as we speak.
I was struggling with today's trade.
That one would be.
Do I want to go big
that
today?
one would require. That one would require trading one of the top kids who are lying in the hallways right now. If you were going to go after a Dylan Cease, because that's the White Sox are looking for some premium return. Didn't have a great season last year, but certainly that's one that you expect him to jump right into a starting rotation and be a fairly frontline pitcher. So the value is very high there. The price tag is going to be very high. And as Wood said earlier, he doesn't see, for the Padres at least, Dylan Cease being the final piece, the guy to go all in on, that they're not close enough there. You just never know what really your final piece is going to be and where your team is going to be. The Padres definitely need another arm, and one that you can rely on would be better. It's just the price tag is going to be so high in terms of those prospects and who you're willing to give up. Before you guys get going, because I know your show's coming up here in a couple of minutes, what a goal last night by Brandon Escoto of the Sockers. I was only bummed that you weren't on the call for that one, because it could have gone absolutely legendary. If our tier ones didn't see it, it's a bicycle kick from like a third of the way down the field over the goalie's head. One of the great goals you will ever see, indoor, outdoor, any kind of soccer. Craig, that was incredible. Did it actually make SportsCenter? Did someone see that and put it on TV? They should have.
It didn't make the 10 o'clock SportsCenter, which I did stay up until 10:58 to go through the top 10. And I don't know if there was a chance, that the overnight crew added something in. It absolutely deserved it. I've seen far less I think I saw a high school 3-pointer to win a game.
I've seen number one be, less than that. That was an incredible goal last night. If you haven't seen it, Craig's got it on his social media channels. I put it out there last night as well, but it was pretty amazing. I was curious if it did make SportsCenter. I was probably asleep by the late ones last night. We had a busy day yesterday, long night. It was a good night though. We had fun.
Had fun, indeed. Helped support the local community. Some self-employed models.
The art, as Wood said, supporting the arts in the Glendale, Peoria, West Valley area. So,
did you eat anything there, Ben? Did you have?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not eat.
Because they do sometimes have like finger foods and things like that.
No, they had menu. Yeah, they had a menu.
I heard the lemon pepper wings are amazing.
That's it. Yeah. Go for the wings.
All right, you guys have a good show today. We'll be tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon. We'll see you when you get back.
Thanks, Ben.
You bet.
All right, that's it for us. We will be back one more day from Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Looking forward to it. For Frank Marchese, for Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods, I'm now the lonely Ben Higgins, off for the rest of my day here on a Thursday. Have a great one from all of us at 97.3 The Fan. So long.